2.1 call to order. The president will call the Paris Union High School District study session to order at 9:13. Please rise. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Do we have a flag?
Do we have a flag?
My shirt.
Shirt.
Oh.
Don't get excited. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here on this Saturday morning. We know everybody's got busy lives, but this is extremely important. Okay, so 4.1 invitation to address the Board of Trustees on any agendized items. Public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you, ma'am. No public comments, so we move on. And 5.1, board roles and responsibilities.
Is that a Compton mug?
Caps, but we have them. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, put me on that list.
No.
Right?
And it's a Yeti. It's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
See the remote here. I thought this was one here. No.
All right.
No. Wait, you think so? This is not.
No, that's a
Oh. Okay.
speaker.
All right, then no problem. We'll have to just do it manually.
Oh, wait, it's fine. You can take it down. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I left my other phone out. That personal or the business?
Off of Valley.
Thank you.
There's two developments. And then they had apartments over behind Stater Brothers, Underport. You don't even know where they are. Oh, yeah. There was one too. So I said to look at that.
Do you recommend the site? I want to go to them. Because I don't know the normal places. I've been shopping at the big boy store.
Absorb that. Your time.
Right? Oh, the garment district?
Yeah, it is.
But they
The young people just got
spend
you know, when you first get into a house, you just
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just need to put in maybe external content.
in anticipation. You got
Yeah.
and you can, you know, you'll from the start.
Yeah, he's right now.
So
He's on his classes over.
the young people are struggling hard.
All right. Apologize about that. Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Pleasure to be with you this morning. The president had asked, wish I had to click this. I'll move around. We'll just kind of go move about. The president asked, when I put this together, to really jump into the roles of the board of superintendents. And we have Wi-Fi. Can we also play videos? Okay. Yeah. Cool video. All right, so we're going to we'll jump right into this presentation, effectuating governance. And of course, there's a subsequent module that we can deal with in this succeeding weeks and months, depending on the board schedule. And so norms for professional learning discussions, what I'd emphatically encourage, pause, paraphrase, do ask probing questions, presume positive intentions. Oftentimes when we're working in teams or working in groups, we make an assumption that we're either being attacked or we're attacking somebody. Let's assume positive intent. Okay, so everybody's on one accord and we're trying to get to an understanding, right? Be aware of intent and own your impact. Sometimes we say things in training sessions or board meetings, and we don't necessarily realize the reverberation of the power behind those words. Remember that old phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. Biggest lie ever told. Biggest lie ever told. My mother can get to me by calling me a couple names. I'd rather her just beat me, all right? Lean into discomfort. Some of you are new to the board, new to the district. Some of you have been around a while, right? The sheriff's deputy, he's in school today, right? He's learning, and he's getting a good breakfast. That's right. Expect and accept non-closure. So when we walk out here today, hey, look, I'm no panacea. We're not going to get all the questions answered, right? And you may not ever get everything answered, okay? But the reality is, when you're working in teams, let us accept elements of discussion and discourse that might be a little bit nebulous, might be a little bit unclear, and then let's work toward a solution. It may take some months, but let's work to a solution. Mr. President.
You know what? So really quickly, just because not I think everybody knows your experience, could you just briefly give us your quick bio on kind of your role and who you are? Because I think you're multifaceted, wear a lot of hats.
I thank you. I've been on. Well, I just go with the political stuff first. I've been on the Compton School Board for 18 years, president 13 years. As a matter of fact, when I arrived to the board, property values, my mother bought a home. She bought several pieces of property, but in one instance, she bought a home. When I first got on the board, bought the home for $170,000. The house was worth about $900,000 a day, almost $1 million. We attribute a lot of that to the growth of the school district, as well as all the investments made into our facilities. Same super's been there 14 years. I've been the president 13 years. And the board has shifted, but we've been able to maintain, the board has been able to really maintain a strategic vision and framework around student achievement for all students, black and brown. And in particular, the work we've been able to do around SPED students, which has been unparalleled. Our SPED graduation rates and graduation data, bar none, right? Well, when you look at when I arrived there, we were nearly headed for fiscal insolvency and state receivership again. We hunkered down, button up, put our differences aside. Now, look, I'm going to be very, very candid with you because there's no cameras in here. Some of my colleagues hate my guts, and I'm okay with that. And I don't like them either. But you know what happens? There's a symbiosis that exists when we work together. The super and I, we cuss each other out. I mean, we cuss. I'm going to never cuss you, no. But we cuss. He drives and he lives around the corner here, right in Paris Union High School District, over in unincorporated Paris, off of Alessandro, in the 215 here. And he drives to Compton every day. He makes that drive every day because guess what? He believes in the mission. He drives past them, doggone near 100 school districts to get to Compton, right? Every day. That's a lot of commitment. I couldn't do it, straight up. So we're like a husband and wife, a husband and husband, you know? Whatever you like, your business. But it works. My colleagues, it works. The staff, it all works because at the end of and we're going to talk about some of that down the line. It's not that we're doing anything different, anything special. We all know our lanes. We all know our lanes and we respect the roles of each and every individual within the organization. As a board president, sure, look, I'll be straight up. Hey, I got a buddy who want to get hired. If he's qualified, why not? Not a big deal. But guess what? That's rare. And he got to be qualified. And he got to go through the process. So there's a way to play the game. You can color within the lines. we're not so straight-laced to where, oh, no, you know, it's my way or the highway. It's our way. It's our way. And if the soup says, look, man, I want this carpet blue because I like blue. And the board says, well, you know, we want it red. What's in between? Right? Let's find a common ground. Or sometimes it's not even a big deal. Hey, I don't really care. Paint the house pink, purple, whatever you want. But when it comes down to hardcore instruction and fiscal decisions, man, we're rowing in the same direction. Same direction. And again, you ain't got to love the neighbor. You got to respect the mission. Right. So when it comes down to politics, we're apolitical. My board is far more conservative than you guys are. Some of y'all Republicans. Far more fiscally conservative. Because we know what it looks like on the other side to have been under state receivership before I got there. But we know what that felt like. In addition, raises. We want everybody to have a little raise. Everybody make a little money. We want everybody to prosper, right? It all works when the board allows the data to drive the discourse. And it's not that you trust the soup and trust the staff, man. Trust the process. We're all fallible. But again, if the soup is getting phenomenal results, hey, do your job. He's up in Sacramento. He's up in Pebble Beach right now lecturing with Tony Thurman at the Legislative Black Caucus. They have an annual event up there. They're lecturing around urban education and Compton in particular, some of the things we've been doing. They want to benchmark, write bills, and so forth. Somebody, hey, you don't want to go with him? Why? It's not my man. I don't want to travel with him. I got my own woman, you know. I don't want to go with the soup everywhere he goes and do what he's doing. We pay him to do that. We pay him to represent. I do my political stuff. He holds it down. Again, it's a symbiosis. And it's the entire board. I got a board member who's on the board right now who's also city clerk, holding down 2 seats. Wow.
Oh, wow. That's possible.
The law allows it. Another story. I got one running for the assembly. She got on the board with the intent to run for the assembly. I'm cool with that. She's the LA Unified Principal, USC EDD. Hey, I'm cool, man. Everybody has an aspiration. Let's help everybody get to where they want to get. I don't have any more aspirations to run for higher office. I want to do what I'm doing in Compton. And I want to do this work, which I do nationally. I work with school systems across the country. I mean, literally, I was on a plane this week. I was in, Annapolis, Maryland, D.C., meeting with superintendents around some of this stuff and superintendent search stuff and some other matters legislatively. In New York, got some work at the DOE there, in Miami, and big conference in Philadelphia. So I'm all over the place, and I've been been a trusted partner of superintendents, cabinet, and boards around the country because of the work that we've been able to do, my team and I, but specifically the results that we've been able to get people. We'll put the superintendent in Fort Worth, Texas, Latina. I think it might have been first or second in the history. The board fired her. The state just took it over because she's not there. Had she been there doing her job, state just took it over. You Google it. Fort Worth, Texas. Wow. Horrific. Right? And so there's examples we've been able to put folk of color all over the country in superintendent positions, doing the search in Seattle right now, do the work in Oakland, just picked up Oakland the other day. And so again, been very proud of this work. By way of education, I went to Cal State Dominguez, came out of Linwood High, went to Alabama, Dominguez, and Loyola Marymount, a master's degree in education, leadership, school administration. Spent most of my years in commercial development, residential development, and aerospace and defense. Worked at Raytheon and Boeing in engineering management for years. 2 decades. Two decades, yeah. Left there to run the LA County Office of Education's foundation. I've been working in education, public policy, and education advancement and transformation since then. So that's kind of sort of the quick pitch. You know, got a beautiful woman I'm with, and we're cool. We have a great time together, like cigars and tequila, all that good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna jump right into it. All right, so this exercise I really wanted us to do. We have some paper, and what I'd love for you to do is it's really self-explanatory, but I'll just quickly go over it. Draw a map with a winding road that symbolizes your life on a piece of paper. Yeah, we got some paper here. Yeah, this is great. Mark milestones along the path using labels and images or symbols, right? Include key events and achievements, challenges and turning points, and then we're going to share and discuss your life map with the group. So, for example, my life map would be, born at St. Francis Hospital in Linwood. So I'm strictly hood, right? St. Francis Hospital in Linwood, right? Raised in Compton, parents divorced. That wasn't really a seminal moment, right? Because I had a big family, big village, right? So, love my dad. He's dead now, but he wasn't like missed. Because there was like a huge family around, right? And then you go on, meet a mentor. Mentor talks about real estate investment, got into that. Education, got into that. How did I run for the board? Got into that. So these are these events that become seminal moments, milestones in your life. Okay. The burning platform of who you are, why you do what you do. And it doesn't have to be long, but there's a story behind each and every one of you here, right? And how did you, for example, I talked to the president one time. He's from West LA. Well, the reality is this. Had he stayed in West LA and bought a home in West LA, he'd be a millionaire. Right? We got a board member here. There's law enforcement. So, fire chief, right?
Fire department, yeah.
Fire department?
Engine captain, acting deputy chief.
Okay, but he's all the way in Jersey. So how do you get from Jersey? How do you get from Jersey all the way to Paris? Of all the places, his mother's in Inglewood, right? So there's all these stories of how this all happened, right? Let's unpack that. Give yourselves about 10 minutes or so, lay it out, 15 minutes, maybe 10. See where you go. Ain't got to get too personal. It's just some things you want to share publicly. You wouldn't mind, the Washington Post writing about Mr. Garcia and he has a bald head. How do you get that bald head?
Well, it's a process.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
It took time.
Take one to know one. If you think you're ready, we can begin. All right. Okay. Who'd like to go first? We'll go with the newest board member.
Ladies first?
Well, hold on. The newest board member, who's the youngest? Hey, listen, we don't talk about gender or race. We're going to go with age. All right.
I've already got halfway through my life, though. Just a quick summary, I guess. I was born in 1986 in LA. My mom was born in Mexico. My dad was born in LA, but his parents were born and raised in Puerto Rico, so Spanish. So my dad's Puerto Rican, but
okay.
My mom's Mexican. They met at work.
I hope it wasn't her supervisor.
No.
I'll leave it alone.
No. My mom, they got married. She became a citizen. She learned English when she came. She came at 16. So
okay.
She knew English. My dad, we lived with my grandparents. My dad had addiction problems when we were young, and he ended up leading him to a Christian rehab center in Paris. So that's how we found out about Paris. And then he came back. It was like I think he stayed for, I don't know. It was a time though. I'm not sure how long, but he got a job opportunity was called Guidant, which is Abbott now. So we moved to Temecula, and then he just did very well from there. He got raises, promoted, which led to buying our first house in Paris. So that's how we ended up in Paris, but he still worked in Temecula. And I had a very good childhood. I never felt poor. I never felt like in need. My parents always provided. They were very Christian-centered home. And along the line, my dad relapsed, and it feels like from there, kind of, everyone's life in our family kind of spiraled and got pregnant young. So I started my family young, but I still did. I finished high school. I got pregnant after high school. So when I found out I was pregnant, I did pharmacy tech. It was a quick. Got to do what I got to do. So me and my husband both did that. And then on my last year of school, I had my son, and then we both did our internship. So I'm newborn internship. We finished that, and then we got jobs right away, which paid very well. So we were able to move out. So I experienced moving out, having he was like 6 months old, having rent, being an adult all in one. So I kind of had like a mental crisis and figured out a lot about myself then. And then eventually, you just grow up and you learn what you got to do. And then my husband and I got married, and I think I was really self-centered for a long time. I didn't realize that, and then it kind of brought a lot of problems that I thought were everyone else was a problem, and I never realized, like, hey, you could be part of the problem too. And I had, my husband and I were about to split. I think a lot of it was I just was very self-centered, so made him the problem for a lot of things. And then I found out I was pregnant when we were about to split, and it was triplets. So that I was very headed up on my career, and that was kind of like okay, you got to turn around. So that kind of forced me to settle down with the home life, which I hated. I hated being home. I hated just being home. I liked working. I just needed to be out of the house doing something. And
So you had triplets?
I had triplets, yeah. I had
Boys.
2, and then I had triplets. They were a big surprise.
Yeah, I bet. All right.
Yeah, so when I had them, that was a really big turning point for me because I had to stay home. I had to learn how to be a mom because I really wasn't present. I was a mom, but I wasn't present. And then when I saw them growing up, it kind of hit me like, oh my God, I missed this from my first kids, the walking, the talking, just the first steps. And I kind of went on a journey, and then I found a church. I gave my life to Christ in between all that. And then I found a church. That church ended up being very cult-like. So when I left, it took me to a journey of critical thinking. I didn't even know what critical thinking was until after I left there. I was like, what happened? Where is my mind broken that I was able to believe these crazy things and not even challenge them or question them? So it was a journey of like self-reflection, and then a journey of critical thinking, and then after that it was just really, God, who are you? What's true? What's not? And then I kind of went on my own journey. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of believing people. I want to go seek the truth for myself. And then I started seeking. It was more of a spiritual journey, I guess. And throughout that, I went back to school. I never really went back to work full time. I just really locked in on being, okay, I'm going to focus on what's my responsibility, which is my children, my husband, and my home. That's what I'm held accountable for. And I went into that, and I was falling in love with it, honestly. And then now I'm here. So I still work part-time. I'm still taking care. I guess I'm just doing a little bit of everything right now and kind of letting God open doors. And I'm like, I'm tired of trying to bang my own doors down. Lord, you open my doors, and let's see where they go.
How old are the triplets?
They're 12 now. Yeah. It's been a journey.
Jeez, Louise, 12. 3 12-year-olds, like, boom.
Yeah, and they're all boys, so they keep me on my toes.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks for the courage.
Yeah.
Most people are not willing to be this open, and so that shows a level of trust that she has with this group here, the colleagues. Who'd like to go next? Or we'll go with the dean of the board. We'll go with the other new person.
I was born 1970 in El Monte. So,
You people are from LA.
Yeah.
Interlopers out here.
Born into a Christian family. I was named after my grandfather, which brought my mom and my grandfather really close. So that's special to me, you know. So graduated from La Puente High School in '88. Played baseball, gave it all, 110%. One of the, we were in a very Hispanic and black area. So one of the few white guys that came out of it.
Yeah, my uncle's church is on Amon Honorable.
I live right around the corner.
My uncle's church is right there, right now.
Yeah.
Amon Honorable.
I have an older half brother that used to date a girl that was there.
Yeah.
Back in the day. You got the donut hole, in and out.
Yep.
All that right there.
Yeah.
That's
La Puente.
Yeah,
La Puente.
My cousin
You can't say Puente. You got to be Puente. Either La Puente or Puente.
The old country black folks said Puente.
Yeah. I got married young at 21. My dad was a heart patient all my life, so we played catch twice because he was just unable to do, physical things. So I spent my life on his lap, watching westerns, his Army tales, that kind of stuff. So, let's see. Yeah, got married young because I didn't know what my health would be. So I wanted kids that I could go and coach and play and do all the things that I wanted to do with my dad but couldn't. But when you get older, you look back, those were the best times of just sitting there talking, So got married at young, early. Started working at Centos in '96. Still been there, or I'm still there. June will be 30 years that I've been there. Been up management and all over the place in there. Then took on my son, my nephew, who was 6 months old. My sister was just going down the wrong path, so we took him on, and he's 31 now. And we were just married maybe a year, so usually when I'm pregnant, you get that going into it, all those feelings. We just was like, okay, here's a 6 months, that couldn't sleep because he had to have either the bottle in his mouth or in a swing, because that's how my sister traveled. So then, got with the Centos. My dad ended up passing away, so that was my first son was born. Then my dad ended up passing away from congestive heart failure, which was a shock because every time he got really sick, then he would pull out of it. So it was really devastating. Then I had my next two daughters. After that, mom passed. Complications of breast cancer. And we then were married for 18 years. We had a falling out. We ended up getting divorced. Oh, gosh, when was that? I don't know when that was. But then, just diving into my church life and what have not. I met my wife, which I had to sell myself because when we got together, we realized, oh, wow, she has 3 and I have 4 kids. So there's a 7 of us. Whoa. And she's like, and that's what she said. She's like, no, we can't do that. So I really had to sell myself, and it paid off. So, we've been married for over 13 years now. And then just going to helping her out at her school because she's a kindergarten teacher in Menifee. And seeing the struggles she would go through of not being supported, with just, she's been there doing it for her life, and she sees a kid that needs extra help. And to get that without being able to say it, is really tough. So it's tough on her, and tough on a student. And then it brought me back to my 2 kids that had IEPs and getting speech therapy. And it was the kindergarten teacher who brought us our son. She goes, look, I can't tell you, but I'm going to tell you. You need to get your son checked. His motor skills are off. And he was I had my nephew at the time, but he was our firstborn. So we just, he did kind of move around a little bit different. And so we took him in because their mom has a MS on her side. So we thought, okay, maybe that's something that's going in that route. Had him all checked out, which was a very hard road to go down. His eyes were in a socket wrong. So we had to go down to UCLA, and they had the eye center down there. They had to detach and reattach his eyes because they were misaligned. And he would kind of like walk and look at things, tilt his head. He couldn't do this. Couldn't tie his shoes at 7 because he just couldn't do his motor skills. And we found that out because we took him to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor put prisms in his eyes, glasses, and he went boom straight and just was normal.
No, really?
Yeah. And so for him to go through all that time, like, oh my God. So then we had the surgery, but we're still dealing with the district on, he had dyslexia, which I have it, my brothers have it. But they would not treat him or give him classes unless he was 2 years behind in reading or something like that. And I'm like, that makes no sense. So his mom at the time was doing all the paperwork because she was a stay-at-home mom. They call me at work and say, look, we have another program, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, that sounds good, but let me check with my wife. They took that as a yes and changed this program to something that was less effective for him. So I was just like, wow. And, so seeing that, my daughter going through speech and what my wife deals with, got me into the board, talking to people and what have not. And, with my customer service that I've had with Centos and management, and, I don't want parents and teachers to have to struggle like that. They shouldn't have to. And so this is why I'm sitting here today.
What's funny about you, you took out an incumbent, a long-standing incumbent. So that says a lot about you and this community, right? Because he's been here, 14 years?
I think so, 3 terms.
Yeah, 3, that's 8, 12 years.
Yeah.
So,
and it was just, for me, it was telling that story when because I did all my door knocking by myself. I've been out for 2 years because of rotator cuff surgeries on both shoulders. So, and for me, it was, God put me in this place, and because it's always a purpose.
Oh yeah.
And so I had the time to walk during the week and not have to rush after hours after work or weekends. So, and that was just I try to live by what I put on that door knocker. On a lot of people, we put safety and we put all that stuff on our door knockers when we're running, but we have to live by it and come to this stuff here and promote and do what we said we're going to do.
Absolutely. All right, who'd like to go next?
I'll go.
All right, there you go, Mr. Garcia.
I was born in Hawaiian Gardens in 1980.
And another LA guy.
Yeah. When I was 5, we moved out to Rubidoux. I grew up in Rubidoux well, as a child and teen. I got caught up in the street life. Because I was from LA, born in LA, I was already labeled.
And getting tested.
Yeah. Because in Rubidoux, if you're not from West Side, you're trash. You're the enemy. And I got labeled, got into some trouble, got sent back to LA by my parents because my friend was murdered. Man. When you talk about these things as an adult, sometimes just makes an impact on you. You start thinking
oh yeah, absolutely.
So I apologize. That just threw me off. I didn't expect that. So I ended up getting kicked out of Rubidoux High School. I told you about that. And I went to Nueva Vista. Nueva. I get confused out here too. Nueva Vista, where the principal was also our counselor, Mr. Hutchinson. He actually died of brain cancer, I believe. And he inspired me to join the ROP firefighting program. So I did that. I graduated from there. What else did I do? And so I had to live life, My parents were like, hey, get your stuff together because you're getting kicked out. So, I got a job. I liked it. Then I got a job here in Valverde, next door. And my life changed. Everything, you're young, you think you're cool. September 11th happened. And all my buddies, they're joining the military. I enlisted in the Marine Corps, didn't make it. I had, at the time, my kid's mom pregnant, and because I was enlisting in the Marine Corps and didn't think I was going to come back, she aborted the baby. That just jacked me up. Jacked me up. So they put a freeze on it, and I never went through with it after that. And then I ended up having 2 kids later on the road. What else? Because of Mr. Hutchinson, though, he kind of opened my eyes. He was like, you need to do something with your life. You have a story to tell. See my friend murdered, seeing all the drugs and gangs and all that stuff in Rubidoux, because that was just the way it was, constant drive-bys. You think I'm exaggerating. I don't know what you guys have gone through.
I believe you.
In our house, if a car was going really slow or really fast, the neighborhood, they'd whistle, right? And everybody knew to drop down.
Yep.
And so it was like routine. You heard the whistles, you drop down and lay on the floor. And, then you hear gunshots. It's not too far behind Club Metro. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. And you know about that? Oh,
yeah.
He knows about Metro?
Does too.
He does, and she does too.
Yeah.
She had a moment over here. Wait a minute now.
I remember Club Metro.
Yeah. I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. God intervened in my life many times. I should be dead numerous times. Sorry, y'all. But he changed me, just working in the district around kids. You don't realize what happens, but you get attached. I didn't think I liked kids, to be honest with you, when I was young. And I have kids, and I love them so much. I love our students. People don't know. I have my story, and I'm trying to help these kids not end up in a situation I was in, and I had multiple bad situations. So because of Mr. Hutchinson, I was inspired to do things that I wouldn't have done, to step out of the zone that I only know. So I had to think outside the box. Like I said, I went to college, Everest College in 2005, 2007, graduated with a business administration degree. And after that, I actually got involved in the union. That's where politics came into my life unexpectedly because, I was young. I thought I knew everything, and I ended up becoming an ignorant activist because I thought fighting was the way to go. And I learned over time fighting isn't the way to go. You could have a conversation and break down barriers tremendously, even over a meal. That's why I always say that stuff. Even with the enemies that hate you and want you dead, you could sit down and have a conversation and bring peace to the table. And I've learned that over the years. And I ended up being the president of the union. And I've learned so much. I've seen, unions have power, but they don't have the power. And if you want to make a change, especially in students' lives, not just your colleagues' lives, you have to consider the higher ups. You have to work your way up there. And sometimes, building relationships is great, but when you're up there and you're seeing things from a different perspective, and you come from a different perspective, as they say, the bottom of the barrel, you get to see the world in a different view now. Now you get to see every perspective. And maybe not every perspective, but a good portion of it. And that's where I realized I needed to be, to make real change, to help everybody. Because if employees aren't happy, kids aren't going to benefit. And that's our future. I realized that being in the union. Yes, I love kids. Yes, I want them to succeed. But I realized the bigger picture. They are our future. Do I want a mechanic to be my brain surgeon? Not having the knowledge, not having the opportunity to go to school. I didn't have the opportunity to go to college. I had to put myself through college, because I got inspired by someone and figure out how am I going to come up with this money,
Right.
which loans come into play. But ever since then, I've been motivated. There's a lot of things that happened in my life I didn't mention, a lot. But I do definitely have a passion to help people, and I believe, and I like that you guys brought up that you're saved too. I'm saved. You were talking about your scripture. I got a favorite one now. It's called "I Am Saved."
Nice.
Yeah, and anyway, bringing all that to the table now. I'm a lot older. I'm 45, but everybody has a story. I want to hear everybody's story because we can learn from each other and we can make real progress. It doesn't have to be politically driven. As long as your heart's invested in it for what's right, I think we could achieve miracles.
Yep. Next person.
I'll go.
All right, Mr. President.
So my parents, immigrants from Mexico. Dad had a second grade education. Mom had a fourth. My dad was a gardener, and very early on when he would take me to work, I knew I didn't want to be a gardener. I didn't want to go to school either, and I didn't want to get a degree. That was for sure. But my sister, she signed me up. She was an athlete, but back then, girls being in athletics was frowned upon, especially by Hispanic culture. So she was kind of suppressed in doing that. And so she didn't want me and my brother to do that. So all of our friends played, organized baseball, but our parents didn't have the cash. So she was working, and she decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to sign you guys up for baseball.
So she did, and I excelled. You know, it was I always tell a story of I have 3 loves. My first love was baseball, so
Right.
I excelled. I was good at it. You know, I that's all I thought. It was just baseball, baseball, baseball. So, anyways, that kind of led me through high school, and then in high school and in college, the greatest advice I'd ever been given was by my coaches. Unfortunately, my dad, Hispanic culture, at least mine, I can't blanket everybody, but my parents didn't really start having conversations with me until I was like 18 and an adult. And it was kind of like, you know, you're a kid and what you have to say doesn't mean anything, right? And so I had like this, I don't want to say rage, but I had this like, you know, like, what about me? Because they'd always tell me, you have to respect us. I'm like, what about my respect, you know, as a little guy? And they're like, calm down. So anyways, that kind of baseball just drove me, good and bad. You know, my coaches, you know, in high school, we played at Dodger Stadium, we lost. In junior college, I went to LA Harbor. We were state champions. At Pepperdine, I blew my arm out. We were national champions. So I've always had great coaches of every color, and it didn't matter. They just were great coaches. So they probably had a bigger impact on my life than my dad did and my mom would always say, Neil, just, you know, you're upset because you lost. You know, can you just, you know, why do you want to play baseball? It gets you so, and I'd be like, Mom, like, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, I don't, because she didn't want to see me in pain. And you know, when I lost, that was like the worst thing in the world. You know what I mean? Winning was fun, but losing was like devastating. And so she'd always just tell me, you know, why don't you just give up the game? And I'd be like, Mom, like, that's like insane, you know? And so anyways, I followed my coach's path because I made so many poor decisions in high school. I was a terrible student. I had a file like that big. And so I learned, you know, that wasn't the route to go. So finally my coach said, Steve, you need to quit being an idiot. And, you know, I know you want to be a pro baseball. I got drafted in high school by the Phillies. They said, I know you want to play pro ball, but the reality is 1% of 1% make it to the big leagues. So you might as well get a degree and, you know, go from there and make a difference some other way. And so all the coaches that I had all produced coaches. So they were coaches who taught us the love of the game and the impact it had on us, that we went out and became coaches. And a lot of my teammates are now college coaches, they're high school coaches. They've been involved in the system, in the process. And I did that for the first part of my career until I got involved in like the political side and what was going on in education. And I got involved in the unions. And I realized that the system was broken. So for me, it was you know, struggling, seeing the different things going on that our voice as teachers were never heard, especially me as a PE teacher. You know what I mean? It was one of those, it's just like, you guys are like,
not a teacher.
You know, but, you know, and we didn't fight that battle, and I decided to do that. And so, you know, fortunately, with my coach's influence, you know, I went to Pepperdine, got my bachelor's degree, got my master's degree, got my credential, and then I just kind of taught, you know, for so many years, just kind of, I always worried about the kids, and that was my primary thing. I never got involved in stuff. But, you know, I realized really quickly that there's an impact you make every day as an educator. You know what I mean? For me, I know some people went administrative route. I've been in middle school 30 years. I've never left middle school. And I realized nobody wants to be a middle school teacher. You're either an elementary school teacher who gets bumped up to middle school. I wanted to be a high school baseball coach because I wanted to impact young men and like the coaches that I had. And so I wanted to be a high school baseball coach, but I had a buddy that was a coach of mine, saw him one day, and he said, hey, do you want a job? Come to my school, you know, Hawthorne. I said, sure. I went there to meet the principal. I left with her giving me a position. I was just like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. And I need to back up. It was funny. So when I got drafted, I remember the scout telling me, you know, because I was like, I don't know, you know, I'm scared. You know, I think it was Batavia, Illinois. We're going to fly you out on Saturday, gave me the date. And I was like, wait a minute. I graduate on Thursday, and you want me on a plane on Saturday? I realized I was a mama's boy. I'm like, who's going to fold my clothes? Who's going to feed me? Who's going to do all that? I mean, all that stuff ran through my head. It was crazy. And then another thing, I graduated, but I didn't walk. I was like I wasn't a good student. And so it was funny because the first graduation that I went to here at Paris Union, that was my first experience at a I mean, I graduated from college, and that was like, you know, I went to my Pepperdine bachelor's, didn't even go to my master's one. Everybody didn't go, and I'm like, for what? Like, you know, I had the one, but the one that probably was the most important to me was high school, because that's all my buddies. I remember I'm sitting outside of the stadium, I'm hearing names called, and I'm just like, no way. Like, I'm sitting out here. I made a mistake. I was late to practice 15 minutes, and they basically said, if you're late, you will not walk. So, you know, I kind of like learned like that was probably, I should have
I should have been there, you know what I mean? But it cost me a lifetime. So I remember the first graduation that I saw here, high school, was just like, whoa, like this is really cool. It was like my first graduation, you know what I mean? But I was on the other side of the aisle. But anyways, going back to the system, and that's why I'm big on the programs, because when I was in Hawthorne, we had the freedom to do things back in the day. I drove kids to Pepperdine. We took them there. They got to see the experience. I would take them to USC volleyball games, basketball games, UCLA football games, all these different things to expose them to a completely different experience that I didn't have. And, as time has gone through, buses are tighter. We're taking all that away in public education, which really sucks, because those are the things that kids remember. You know what I mean? It's funny because there was kids that I took in Hawthorne that went to those football games, and I think 3 of them graduated from UCLA. And they said that experience was like they saw the band, and then the whole thing was really cool. So I think that kind of stuff is great. Now, then I got married. That was my second love. So first love was baseball. Second love was my wife. Had kids, family. That like.
Wait, hold on. In that order?
well, my first one was baseball. I didn't. But shortly thereafter, I met my wife in high school.
I know you said, but okay.
But she, so she's my second love. And then we had a family, and then kind of like everybody else has shared, my third was because of my family and my wife. I found my faith, which is my third and I believe my greatest love, because that one encompasses not only me but them. It covers them if I properly have done my job. And so for me, it's extremely important, that those 3 things happen. And they all happen for a reason. It's kind of weird. I kind of sometimes think, well, I wish I was that kid. I kind of wish that I was my son, because my son got the benefit from our relationship and our family life. And so now, he's a teacher. Actually, 2 of my 3 kids are teachers, and he's actually going to be a missionary. And so it's tough for me, because it's like, my kid's going to go off into the world. But we kind of trained him to love people. You know what I mean? Hey, you love people and you'll be fine. And so that's the kind of kid he is. So I wish that I had that kind of life that he had, because my wife exposed me to camping and the outside world. And so I thought, wow, this is going to be great, because I want to expose our kid to traveling and meeting people and, tasting different foods. My wife's very like, I'll only have this, this, and this. And I'm just like, let's try everything. You know what I mean? And so the kids kind of got that part. But, now that I look at that, and I think, normal is an interesting word, because everybody's normal is a different normal. And you don't realize how, like, what, and I try to tell my kids that, and it's when they become adults, they come back and tell you, Dad, because we had this, it was normal to us, but we noticed that not all kids have that, and actually one of them was insurance. And I said, yeah, no, I got a broken finger, from playing baseball, didn't have insurance. So I didn't go get it checked. It just kind of grew a little funky. But, that kind of led to all this. And so a lot of the things that I do are from that perspective, to try to let parents do what they can with their household and their kids. But at the same time, if there's a lack or something lacking and we can provide an opportunity, a program of this or that, then that's why I think we're elected to do this, to make sure that experience is best for them. And then finally, and this is a completely different love, but I'm a grandpa now, and it's completely different. Mila was crying last night. I don't know what time in the morning. I went over there. My daughter's like, half dead and holding the kid, and I just grab her. As soon as I grab her and pick her up, she kind of just goes limp, and I pat her on the back. We both go to sleep, but it's just that's the next stage in life. So. That's it.
All right. Last but not least, the dean of the board.
Oh,
the longest. He's the longest serving member, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
He's the dean.
Okay. I was born in 1959 at White Memorial Hospital. So in LA, I am the old guy, but I've been through a lot. I went to 8 different schools in 4 different states before graduating high school, and every school you went to had different challenges, whether it be you had to fight, or you had to just find your way around the school, just make friends. You lost all your friends every time you moved. So I went to Catholic school, lived on 5th Avenue and 59th. I went to Catholic school on Crenshaw Boulevard for elementary school. My kindergarten days, which I don't count much. I went to a public school over on 54th Street, I think. I went to school in Richmond, Virginia, which was back in the 70s, and I went to Mosby Middle School, and it was strange. It was back in the days of busing, and they were busing in. I didn't get bused out of the school. They were busing kids into the school. They were busing the suburb kids into the inner city schools, which, coming from California, I said, this is like a cruel thing to do to people, because they were scared to death. And people were taking advantage of them. And I said, this is just torture. Every day they had to get on that bus and come to that inner city school. Now, in Virginia, the schools were dilapidated back in that day. They were hideous. And, they were trying to correct the system, and, that whole busing thing was going on. So I left there, went up to New Jersey, where my aunt lived. We used to spend summers in New Jersey. We would go from L.A. to New Jersey and spend our summers with my great aunt, and we'd go to Connecticut. We'd go to Pacific Palisades. We'd go to New York City, because we lived same place where I would end up living. You'll see in the end here. So we were really well traveled. I mean, I rode the super cheap train across the country with my grandmother, because she had a railroad pass, because my step grandfather, a very violent alcoholic, was a railroad man. So
My grandfather.
he was extremely violent. Nicest man in the world till he drank. If he had a bit of alcohol, you better run, because he's going to throw a hammer at you. He's going to do something.
Yeah, not the hammer. Good Lord.
Yeah, I remember. I could still see that hammer spinning.
Oh my goodness!
And it hit my grandmother's car. The window in the car had that jelly stuff, and it shattered right in my face. But the window didn't shatter. And then she pulled off. I forget where we went to my mom's. My mom and I have a really strained relationship, so that's been hard. She moved us around so much, it just upended our life everywhere we went. My mother and father were divorced when I was 10 years old. My mother did not want her kids. I was told I'm the revenge baby. Because I said, why did you have more kids? Why did you stay with my father? And, well, you were a revenge baby. She's 89 now, and probably the meanest woman in my opinion. She'll be nice as the world to you guys, not me. I just buried my brother in April, and we still don't get along. I can't even hand her the flag that my brother had. She doesn't even want me to come see her. So I'm just honoring her wishes and just whatever. So I ended up in New Jersey from Washington State, drove from to Condo. I'm skipping around, but I went from, we were going to Louis Pasteur in LA. And we were becoming, the Crips and the Bloods were just starting out.
Right.
So we were in our blue bomber jackets and our afros out the ear and the gloves and the everything. And we were becoming Crips. I had buddies pulling up in stolen cars and all that stuff. And I, myself, got kicked out of school for carrying a weapon. In the school, we had deputies way back then. You had to protect yourself, and I knew from moving around, trouble was coming. It's just a matter of how it was going to get there. And with me, it happened. I just went in the wrong bathroom, and I shouldn't have been in that. I knew. I said, why did I go in there? And then you end up in a big fight and all this, and I dropped the knife, and then they went and said, hey, you had a knife. I never used it or anything, but I got kicked out of school. So I'm serving my suspension, and I'm riding around on my dirt bike. Hey, I don't have to go to school. I'm the man. And I work at the liquor store because I had a job at the liquor store. Always worked. Always had a job. So before I knew it, my mom says, pack the bags. And we ended up in Washington State. The rainiest, darkest, black people were pale because the sun don't come out. And it just rained and rained and rained. And I said, I hate this place. But then the sun came out. and it turned out nice. So I learned the city and the bus system wherever city I lived in, and I found my way back to the ghetto where I belong. And I was partying and it was like, hey, okay. Then we moved out of the suburb down to the ghetto, and I was like, I'm fine. My brother wasn't with that. He thought we were rich because my mom worked for this company selling wire and cable to Boeing. So we lived in a company house and had the pool and the cars and all that. But I didn't like it, you know. And the people were they just weren't nice. They weren't mixing. There was a lot of military. There was a lot of just racial animus at that time still. And I didn't realize that was just the beginning of my life with that. So anyway, moved from my senior year of high school. My mom pulls us out of school. My brother had gone crazy a couple of years earlier, and that'll come in if I can speed this up. He has schizophrenia. It came out. He ended up in the hospital. My mom sent him to my dad. My dad sent him back and never did anything for him. I didn't talk to my dad for a couple of years for what he did. He had the health insurance. My dad was a postman in LA for 35 years. I used to come out of his little bachelor apartment and see him running down the street because he always lived on his route. So he'd be running down the street delivering the mail, home by 10 o'clock in the morning, drinking a beer and taking a nap, and then go back and check out at 3 o'clock. So he had it down. He was in the Army. He was in the military. Every member of my family was in the military except me, and I did it in a different way. So I went to Jersey, graduated. I learned, met people. Actually knew some people from the summers I spent there. So I got a job in a print shop. Jobs were very hard to find at that time. I can't say exactly what the economics of the country was, but I couldn't find a job. So an old guy came, a friend of my aunt's, who was my great aunt, sent me over to this company in East Orange. East Orange used to be the capital of insurance back in the day. It was like where all the New York City elites lived and caught the train into New York. But they lived in these high-rise buildings with doormen and all that, just like New York City still has. But the city took a dive. Now, when I went on, I don't want to skip that far. So I went with this engineering company. I went in the print shop at $3 an hour, got my first raise first year. I got $3.10 an hour. I was like, oh, this is really okay. Terrible. So I always had two jobs. I became a driver, and I would do 10 stops in the city, then go through the tunnel, and then hit Kennedy, and then hit the Belt Parkway, and come back around and be back in Jersey. Or else I had to go to Trenton or something like that. I would deal with consulates and electronic equipment in New York City. I'd drop off passports to the consulates to be stamped so they could go overseas. This was an international engineering company. So I went from print shop to drivers. I was the maintenance manager. Then I became a procurement manager for Rospinaz Air Base, which never got built when they killed Sadat. And they were trying to send me to Egypt at that time. So there was an old guy at the desk. I think I told you all this story. He used to show me his retirement check. And I said, "Hi, Charlie, how do you get that check?" Old guy. And he told me, "Go take that test, kid." And he showed me that retirement check. So I went and took the test. And I was actually on the list here to go to L.A. County, but I couldn't make it back in time. So I took that test. The department got caught up in the Justice Department because they were depositing our applications in the trash and hiring whoever they wanted to. And they got caught by the Justice Department twice. And they had to go back and give people their jobs. This is back in the days, this is 1983. This is back when affirmative action was still in place, because basically a lot of the civil service jobs, you just couldn't get in. I mean, it was very difficult, and New York City is probably still like that at this point right now. But anyway, so I hung around that job, Lewisburg, the International Engineering Company, for 7 years. I worked there, worked my way up to the top. Then So Charlie was showing me that check, and I said, well, I'll take the test. Took the test, went down to the practice sessions, was running 3 miles a day, lifting weights, and came out number 17.
Wow.
And at 17, they still had to make the cuts. You had to pass the background check, which was your life. They wanted everything you did, everything. And so you filled that out, and there you go. And left out the stuff that couldn't prove. But anyway, got on the fire department. My training chief, he was one of the milestones in my life, because my training chief became my tour chief when I went on my actual tour. So I knew him he trained me. So at the next level, he was my tour chief. So he trained me again. Then I made captain. He trained me again. Then I was slated to make deputy chief. And I ended up out here because my dad had lymphoma for 15 years, and he had retired and moved out here. I didn't know where this place was, had no intention of coming here. And I liked it out here. It was quiet. It was nice. It's grown so much since. There's a lot of good to it, but I don't think people see what I've seen in inner city life. I think you see neighborhoods go up and down, and you see the elderly try to stay in their homes and then get put out of their homes. That was the situation why I ended up in New Jersey, because my aunt was up in her 90s. My Uncle Carl died. She could no longer afford to live in her own home. So that's why we went to Jersey. I vacationed, took my family all over the East Coast and back here to the West Coast. Because I wanted them to see everything, and I worked quite a bit. A lot of overtime, and just it would wear you down. Plus I thought I was going to get rich property-wise, so I bought a lot of property. But it ended up, the property almost did me in, because it was a lot of work maintaining it, and the taxes. That's why I tell you guys about the bonds. Be careful. You keep raising those taxes. That is what will kill your city, and it's spending money you don't have. It's spending money your constituents don't have. So you have to be real sensitive to that. Oh, they could take another $15. Well, there's a line there somewhere. So I'm kind of cognizant of that. So I also built a house in South Carolina. I was going to go there, but I came here instead and walked away sold my brand new house sitting on the pond, big mouth bass, and the whole deal I was going to do. But it was okay. I came home, so it wasn't bad. Grandkids, too. I have two girls, one 6 and one 10 now. They're getting big, and I really could feel for you, Steve, when you were telling your story, because the kids do change us. It changes our whole way of being, and it's amazing, because where we weren't able to show love, all of a sudden you've got unconditional love that you're willing to give, and that your grandkids need you. So, you're able to give your kids the love they need to support their family, but you're able to give those grandkids and be there for them, because I was gone a lot. I think that's why I've been married 37 years, because I wasn't there. Well, I was not far away, but I was always on an engine or a truck, or, the 9/11 thing. I was at 9/11 on the second day. I've seen a lot of tragedy. It sits back here in my head somewhere. I try to pass on safety things to some people, but sometimes people have to step in that hole themselves. You can't stop everything. I also worked 2 jobs. I had a landscaping business, and I was a professional drummer for a while back east. We had a band. I was the band leader and the manager and everything for the band. We were firemen. Because we were firemen, people hired us, especially after 9/11. They wanted these firemen to play, and we had some military in the band too. So I was always busy, always had a gig or overtime or something, played ball constantly. That's why probably a lot of the aches and pains. Yeah. Firefighting, I used to recommend it to people. I do not recommend it anymore. If you knew the pain, And you would say, no, that's not for me. If I could just put it on you for a minute, you'd say, oh, okay, that's not, I don't want to do that. So that's about it. And I worked for the school district for, 9.5 years. Met Dr. Rao Pennicati years ago. He was an administrator. He was influential in my life. And the principal at the time was Dennis Bixler. He was very influential. I was.
Dennis Bixler? I don't know Dennis Bixler.
You know Dennis? Yeah. He said he knows, yeah. And a lot of people would see something in me and see how far I could go. And they weren't scared to put the responsibility on me. So they knew I was honest and they didn't have to worry about anything like that. I've had a top secret security clearance with the government because of the engineering job I had. So I've spent time training people for a couple of months in D.C. Funny thing, those people, Arlington County Fire Department I trained and we promoted, became the people at the Pentagon on 9/11 too. So there was something about that day. Today I still get chills and I say, I just stay in the house and I don't go anywhere. And I don't, it's so fresh in my mind. I know other things have happened and life moves on. So it's nothing about anybody else. It's just about me. My cousin said, you have some kind of PS, what is that, post-traumatic stress?
Yeah.
So I looked at him, was that an insult or did I do something wrong? I said, yes, I probably do. Yeah, I suppress a lot of stuff. And I've seen so much that I want to share, just like the trustee position where we do now. I was a trustee in the Firemen's Union as a captain. You had to be a captain or above to be in this particular union. And that union was very tough, as was the regular firemen's, very tough union. Didn't always do the right thing, but it was a tough business. So I totally understand what our mission is. And for me, serving here is able to serve my community, do something for the students. Because remember, many of my days I spent also riding in parades and going to the schools, and they'd bring out the classes and we'd put them in the seat and they'd honk the horn and some would cry, some would love it, so kids have been always in my life. Working at Heritage High School, just being able to look at the kids and say, okay, this one needs more attention. Someone, you could see it. Coming from the inner city, you could see it. You know it. You know what you're looking at, and nobody's going to fool you. You might say, okay, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But why doesn't somebody, let's see if he's interested in something, or he or she, let's see if they're interested and try to point them the right direction. And had some success with that because they would send kids to us for, to work around the campus if they were in trouble or something. And I would talk to them and say, I don't care what you're here for, so we're going to do this and we can talk along the way. And a lot of them took it quite seriously, what I said, and went in the service. I wanted to become deputies and different things like that. So I could see the kids were very moldable, and it's our job to do that. And if we don't share what we know, it's a disservice. And the last thing I'll say is, becoming from my age group, families hide most of their secrets and won't even warn other family members about some of the pitfalls that they stepped into. It's like they don't want to relive it or something. I don't know. But anyway, for me, I just love life and love the ups and downs. That's part of life. Right. And that's the way it goes. So,
all right. So
thank you.
We'll go to the cabinet. Dr. Eakins?
Hi. Okay. So I am the oldest of three on my mom's side and second to the youngest out of four on my dad's side. So I met my dad 10 years ago on Facebook, so I got to meet that side of the family and got to spend the last 10 years with him before he died of cancer. But growing up, it was just the oldest with me and my sisters, and grew up in Alhambra, where I was born. Alhambra used to be one side of the tracks, and Monterey Park was, if you're Asian, And the other side of the tracks were a few were Hispanic. And my mother married my stepfather when I was 1, and he was from Mexico City. So we lived on the Hispanic side, and that's where I grew up. And was
that's interesting.
Yes.
I would have assumed that.
Yes, yes.
Monterey Park, I never would have made that assumption.
Oh, right. Okay.
No,
No.
And it's Asian now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Asian
expensive.
now. So I grew up in Alhambra, Catholic school baby. And so a big turning point was later when they divorced. In junior high, it was my first time we moved to West Covina and went to public school. And I didn't have like regular clothes. I only had church clothes on the weekends. So, you know, I'm walking to school in my dress and my stockings and heels every day. So I fit right in. Let me tell you. In public school, I had to. So I grew up with in public school with first time ever going to school with the kids that look like me. And the black kids would say that, you talk white. And I didn't understand what that meant, but, you know, my private school, it was just my sister and I, and her last name was Chavez, so it was mostly like me. And so I didn't know what that meant. I would go home and I'd say, Mom, they say, you know, the kids are very nice. They say, you know, we talk white. And she said, oh, that's just because I stuttered as a child. And a white woman taught me how to speak when I was 12. So just tell them that you don't talk white, you just talk like your mother. And I said, oh, okay. And I just told people that, you know. But, you know, over time, it was fine. I did blending. I got regular clothes that weren't just, you know, church clothes. Because if you grew up in Catholic school, you wore a uniform my entire life. My aunts intentionally brought my sisters and I over because when the family would come around, you don't realize it, but if you go to school and no one looks like you, when you're around a bunch of family that looks like you, we were scared. We didn't know what to do. You know, our entire apartment complex was Hispanic, and my school was all white. So my aunt still talk about, remember we had to have mandatory parent, like, you know, family get-togethers, like where everyone, because they talked about how me and my sister would just be like together when we were younger, not knowing what to do. So just interesting to hear the stories because we're older. We don't remember that. We're like, what are you talking about? But just looking at some other turning points, I ended up the semester before starting med school at USC, they had a program where you would work at County General in the trauma ward. Right. So my last year at Cal State Fullerton as a bio major, we were PA helpers, and it was like your intro into before you started med school. And I realized there I didn't want to go to med school. And I got married when I was 20, and I remember having to go home and tell my husband, you know, I don't think I want to go to medical school, you know, and we didn't have any kids. We got married for love. But, you know, he's working and I'm in school, and I just remember his face like, what are you going to do? I don't know, but the hospitals are depressing. Now, if I had started at Kaiser, I probably, but interning, trauma ward at USC, 11th floor was the police floor, right?
The jail floor.
The jail floor, yes, the jail floor. So ended up making a turn. My husband worked for the city of LA at the time, still does, and got me into LAPD Scientific Investigations Division, where I was, they didn't have these forensic programs, and I really liked the science component. They didn't have these programs. If you wanted to go into forensics, you had to volunteer at the police station, and if you got hired, you can do so many years there, and then commit to so many years there, get the training, and then you can branch out. So I started there, Scientific Investigations Division in the drug lab. During Cal State Fullerton, I was a neuroscientist and did research under a grant. So I was able to research, do that as a undergrad, not as a master's student typically. So did that, and also looked at teaching. I would sub because, again, I was volunteering for LAPD as a civilian in the drug lab. But my husband was like, you kind of need a job a little bit. So I would substitute teach. First day ever middle school home ec. Mr. Campos scared me to death. They threw a piece of paper at the back of my head when I went to put the VHS tape in, because it was a while ago, and realized I'm not doing education because half the school was puberty and half of them wanted to be grown because it was middle school. And I'm 24, like I'm not grown enough to be patient. And so they would call and I would hang up because I'd rather drive from Moreno Valley to right by Twin Towers to work in the drug lab for free than sub in Moreno Valley Unified where I lived. I lived in Moreno Valley Ranch at the time. And I was number one on Department of Justice to be hired. And then they did a hiring freeze. And so I just stayed number one. But then they called me to sub again. I would hang up until my husband asked me, well, didn't you get a job yet? And I'm like, oh, crap, I better take the call. Because they would call me every day. I would just answer and hang up. I'm young. So I only took a call whenever he would ask me, But either way, it ended up working out. They needed a science teacher to finish the year, and earth science teacher. And I realized that, it wasn't teaching that I didn't love. It was substitute teaching.
Yeah, because you get treated bad.
Right, and
nobody cares about you.
Right. And at 24, I didn't know, you throwing papers at heads. I had a mouth. I was giving it back. Whatever I was getting, I was giving back because I'm 24 years old, by the way. And found a love for it, and ended up got a call and an offer at the same time to be a criminalist with the city or to be that substitute position for the rest of the year. And I took the substitute position because I knew I always wanted to go back to school. And I remember the teacher schedule probably would allow me to, I still wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't want to be a medical doctor. So ended up doing that, fell in love with it, and decided I'm trying to find a job, and couldn't find a job as a teacher for the life of me. And Moreno Valley at the time, for budget, always used long-term subs for your first month. They didn't do full contracts until after they got butts and seats.
Nom day.
Yes.
A horrible way of doing business, I might add.
Right.
Horrible way of doing business. But
yeah, that's what it was. They said, don't worry, you'll get a job. And after the first month, I wanted a job. Once I wanted to be a teacher. And luckily, back in the day, you can get a job sometimes by who you know. And my husband was at work, graveyard. He said he calls it, just talking with one of the guys. And they're, what your wife's do? My wife's trying to be a teacher. And he says, really? Well, I'm the board president in Baldwin Park Unified. And my husband called me at 3 a.m. and said, I got you a job. I said, how do you get me a job? He got me a job. I went the next day, 11 a.m., met a woman named Phyllis, and I was got hired as a long-term sub in Baldwin Park, and ended up interviewing and being a permanent position as a teacher, and did my entire career there in Baldwin Park Unified.
You were there with the Rubios.
Yes. Yep. And that's where I was, and just ended up being a teacher for 10 years, and decided to get my master's after 10 years. I wanted to do it sooner, but life happens, kids happen, responsibilities happen. And you look up, and what you planned on doing in a year, you look up and 10 years went by. So I went back to school, did my master's, moved on into admin, and then did my doctorate, and after a total of about 15 years, and finally met my goal of being Dr. Eads, and have really felt, the impact and what I wanted to do for kids, and growing up, just, my mother I've had a few stepfathers, and some had different abuses. So I embedded my life in just being active in school as a cheerleader, ASB president, and just really focused, the more I can be in school, the less I can be at home. And so it helped. And I think with my own lived experience, I wanted to just see if I can get kids to love science as much as I love science. So ultimately that was my journey. And I only went into admin to be an ASB director. It was a requirement in Baldwin Park. You had to have your admin credential. So that way it gave other admin a break. And if I'm chaperoning prom, I'm also the admin. That just turned out never happened. And I ended up being an intervention TOSA. And my life went a whole different direction. So I laugh. I tell people, well, who knew how life goes, right? You think you have a plan and God laughs at that. Like, oh, yeah. ASB, I got you.
That's why the road is winding. The road is winding.
Right? So this is where, my path took me. And I thought I was going to make an impact through activities. And turned out I had a whole different journey of making an impact. And still kept my love for forensics, so I was able to write the course for forensic biology, made it A through G, and it's still the template that they send out for schools.
We need that here in this district.
Oh yeah. I still have it, and the UC system still uses that template. And I never knew when you're young, and they're like, "Hey, they accepted your class on the first submission," and you're like, "Well, yeah, of course, right?" Because I'm fresh out of neuroscience lab, fresh out of the crime lab. Not till I got older till I understood the significance of that, but still kept those parts of me, and it just really, I feel like I take every year to year, because I'm always like surprised at where life takes you. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm in Paris and I love it. I'm close to home, and I get to make a difference in this capacity.
Beautiful. That's Dr. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Wakai. I'm going to go a little quick on
Perfect. Thank you.
because of the time constraint. I'm really aware. But I would like later on to have the opportunity to share. I have a lot of things to share, and I identify, on each of you, I have identified something. The first time when I came here to the U.S., well, when I was a little kid, I was born in Sinaloa, Mexico. But when I was 2 or 3 years old, I used to live in Paramount because my dad was working here. And my mom came. We were there probably for a year. But then my mom got pregnant and went back to Mexico because she wanted my sister to be born there, and she wanted to be with her mom and things like that. So we stayed, and then I came back until 1989 to Hathor. They're on Rosecrans and Prairie.
Oh my God. My sister lives right by there now.
Okay. My first, I didn't have time to go to school to learn English, but I remember I enrolled and I went probably for 2 weeks to Louisiana High School for an ESL class. Yeah, to Louisiana. Yeah. Another thing, real quick, Tony, when you said that they used to, when applicants, they threw their papers in the trash. My daughter was 6 years old, and we were living in Hathor, Washington Elementary School, I believe.
I taught right across the street.
Okay,
intermediate.
Okay, we used to live on 104. Yeah. So we fill out the papers, and then one of the questions was, would you like your daughter to be taught in English or in the bilingual program? And I said, English only, right? Because I wanted her to learn English and not struggle like me, that I came here without speaking any English. And later on, I want to expand on all the experiences that I had to learn English. Well, a few days later, Mija, can I see your homework? What's what you are doing? Oh, yes. And she showed us everything in Spanish. And I said, no, we said English only. We are going to teach her Spanish, right? I was a teacher before coming here. So we went there, and we talked with one lady, and she was very honest. She said, "Oh, you know what? I think it's because they saw her name, Maria Dolores Arauz, and they assume immediately Maria Dolores, Hispanic, and they put her in."
Yeah.
Similar to what you said, Tony. But then I thought, I cannot allow this, because what about if when they are grown-ups, they apply for a position, they see Maria Dolores, there is some issue there, and they just because the name. So immediately I went to court, right, and I investigated, I researched how to change her name. I did it by myself. And they gave me all the information. I needed to fill out an application, ran some ads in the LA Times, in the newspaper La Opinión also. Some information. Long story short, I finished the process. So her name now, since then, is Marie Dolores Arauz. So was not identified just in paper, because if people just see the paper. And I did the same with my son, because he was already born, right? He was Jose Luis, like me. And I didn't want to do the same thing. So I did the same process, Joseph Luis Arauz. So I identified that, I remember. When I was at Rubido, actually I was living in Miraloma before becoming a principal at Rubido. And I had the opportunity to go to the Metro Club. Yeah, one time. So, because we were just probably for 30 minutes.
I think everybody's been to Club Metro.
Not me.
What about you? Oh, you guys have been?
The party club.
Been?
Yeah.
It's
It's not there anymore. Yeah. It's not there anymore.
Every weekend.
Yeah.
Every weekend. They would land the helicopter every time.
Yeah.
That's crazy, yeah. Club Metro, man.
Yeah.
It's already an adult.
And I think that would be, is that okay with you? I can continue, I have a lot, but later on I have the opportunity, I'm sure. I will have the opportunity to share.
Mr.
Last. Well, I was born not in the LA area, not in the LA metro. I was actually born in the lower desert of California, in Indio, California.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And I grew up in Coachella.
Okay.
Oh,
So you're the outcast, huh?
I'm the outcast.
the desert rat.
I'm a desert rat.
Yep.
The predominantly Latino community. So I grew up in the full Latino culture. Thinking Latino, like my dad and things like that. I remember growing up, waking up every morning at 4 a.m. because my mom and my dad had to go drop us off at the babysitter. They had to go work, and they wouldn't get home till 6, 7 o'clock at night. In the fields, work in the fields. We would follow the fields too, so we weren't even stationed at one location. We would always follow all the way to Bakersfield, all the way back to Coachella and Indio. So I remember all that and all that change. But I went to the Coachella Valley Unified School District until we were in 5th grade. And then my mom decided to leave my dad for the first time. So we went to Riverside. We did not like Riverside. We were there for a year when we then decided my mom got back with my dad, and we went to Indio, neighboring district. Indio back in the day was more of the middle class Latino community. And it kind of seemed like that, right? Like, when you went from Mecca to Thermal to Coachella, and it just kept getting in a different socioeconomic status. But we were there. My dad bought a little trailer. My first experience in that trailer, it was like we were there like 3 or 4 months when our friend, one of our kid friends that we had, our neighbor, we were coming home from school and their trailer was burning, and our friend, got stuck in the bedroom, and he couldn't make it out. So it's that trauma of the youth. I was never a good kid. Always in trouble, bad grades, through middle school. It wasn't until I got to high school, my sophomore year, where my counselor asked me, he's like, "What do you want to do with your life?" I said, "Well, I don't know." And so Mr. Duran, I still talk to Mr. Duran to this day. He's a school board member at Desert Sands, Palm Springs Unified, one of those 2 districts out there. But I still talk to him, but it was really him that really got me to think about my future. And so I
turned my life around. I joined band. I always liked to do music, so I joined the band, and I did that through my high school career. I used to play baseball and youth baseball, so I was really good at it. But it never took off at the high school level. I graduated, and I went to UC Irvine, but wasn't ready. It's just, they don't prepare you to these 400 kid classes. You have you're going from a 35 to 1. Now you're by yourself in a 400 student classroom, and it was very difficult. Then, second year, my parents divorced, and I'm the oldest of 5. My dad left to Mexico. My mom stayed by herself. She couldn't afford anything down, so I dropped out of school, went back to Indio, and I kind of followed my father's footsteps. I became an alcoholic. Struggled. I was still helping. I wasn't violent like my dad. My memories of my dad was, he got drunk, you better not be around. He used to remember those carburetors, the cables that came out? Yeah. And he would use those to got through, went back, got a job, was working at the casino, helping family. Friday hit, take off to Mexicali with family, just start drinking. It wasn't really until I started working for the school district that really kind of started changing my mind of what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to help people. When I was at school, my first degree was electrical engineering, and then I did 2 years of that, and I just took all the classes, and then I also took a lot of chemistry. So I always wanted to do something there, but then when I started working at the school district as a paraeducator, I really started to think, I want to help other people. Everything that I've been through, I want to help other people. And that kind of started my journey. And it wasn't until I met my current wife that, because we were both at school districts, we were at a training, and I met her, and we got together, and she really put that fire in me of to change. So I had to change my mentality. And since then, it's like my second round of life, right? The first half, the second half, and the second half has just been way, way better than the first half. I stopped drinking. I still drink once in a while, but it's more social, but not like back in the day. But I was able to go back to school. I was with a district for about close to 8 years, and then I moved jobs to Ontario, so to the county. So we started living in Banning. I started working there, got involved in the community, became a board member. I went back to school, finished my bachelor's degree in psychology because I wanted to help people. That led me to the HR field for the county, and I've been doing that since. That also led to getting another bachelor's degree in business because I wanted to be a partner for the business. And then that also led to my MBA. That led to me going from the district to the county to the private sector, where I learned even more, and then that kind of rolled all the way back to now. And that's kind of shaped my thinking of giving back to the community, giving back to the students. In that time frame, I also coached for 8 years, Little League Baseball.
That's always fun.
It's so much fun. And how I got involved in that was my youngest brother, wanted to play baseball, and I told him, I'm interested in coaching, and they called me and said, hey, we have this team that nobody drafted. You're going to come in last place, but do you want to coach?
I've been on that team. I've been on that coaching team.
I'm like, of course I want to coach. Why not? And they told me, but you're going to finish last out of the 6 teams. That's fine. It's just about teaching these kids how to play. We never lost to the first place team, and we came in 3rd. Oh, and then I took that team from 9 years old all the way through until they finished their pony league. 15-year-old. And we went from this supposedly leftover team to champions, getting sponsored by the casino, by all these other sponsors. A couple of the kids went on to the not Little League World Series, but it's called Power Baseball World Series back in the day. They went to Colorado. They had a blast. So that's where I'm at right now.
All right, folks. Well, thank you guys for sharing. We take a little time there, but we'll take a quick break. Sure, yeah. You want to take a few minutes? What do you say? How many minutes?
Well,
Okay.
5 to.
Okay, so we'll do 5.
Okay.
Do 5 minutes.
We'll
jump right into it.
You said current wife.
Yes. I know. I've seen that one.
I'm like,
Wait. Hold up. If we're taking a break, can we put these on pause?
Live mics.
No. Go right ahead.
I've seen a video. My current wife.
I was married.
We are back from our break at 10:58.
So we're going to jump into key work of school boards. I'm just going to play this vignette, but for the sake of time, I can send you that. Send that to you. It's kind of funny a little bit. We can do it another time. What is the key work of school boards from your perspective? Just give me one word. Key work. Key work of the school board from your perspective. One word.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
More than one word.
Got to be one.
Protecting.
Campos.
Yeah, I'm going to say communication.
Training.
Advancing.
Okay.
Oh, good word.
Okay. Members of the cabinet, any thoughts from your perspective?
Students.
Students, okay.
We care.
Care.
Protection.
All right. No wrong or right answer. Just simply perspective. Right. And what do you set as far as the frame of reference is concerned? All right. The key work of boards, as the industry would have it, mission and vision, accountability, policy, community leadership and advocacy, board and superintendent relations. Okay. So of course we look at the overall, the hub in the middle of the wheel, student achievement. If there's turbulence in any of these areas, clear mission, clear vision, the board not understanding the role of holding the staff, superintendent and staff accountable, there's a challenge. In California, our system is a little bit different. I know what the policy states. As far as the superintendent being the only employee of the district. There's also some misunderstanding as to how that's interpreted. The board is the employer. And the board can evaluate anybody on cabinet if they're so inclined. That's in the law, not my opinion. Now, what happens is many of us, we don't really study the law, so you don't understand that. But the board, a job offer cannot be given to anybody absent board approval. It's the law. Okay. Policy, very, very misleading. You're not really, unless you're really sophisticated, high-performing board, you're not really writing much policy. You're getting it from CSBA, you're leveraging it from other districts, etc. That's standard. But you can't write your own policies. For example, you can add graduation requirements onto students within this district if the board desires. There's things you can do. There's a base the state sets. You can add additional. You can extend the school day if you want to pay for it. Extend the school year if you want to pay for it. Call it policy. Leadership and advocacy and board and superintendent relations we'll jump into in some subsequent slides. Stop me anytime you have a question. Ongoing board self-assessment. Very important that the board, and this is of course from the New York State Department of Education, of the New York State Education Department. Effective boards engage in a continuing process of self-assessment and use the results to identify opportunities for improvement. Very important that the board conducts that assessment of itself as it's conducting the assessment and the evaluation of the superintendent and our staff. Okay. Now, I'm from the mindset, the state sets goals. If you're benchmarking the entire community, meaning you're looking at, so you benchmark here, Marietta, Paris, Valverde, Mo Valley, Corona, Norco. You wouldn't benchmark the elementary districts because they don't have high schools. You benchmark the systems that are comprehensive K-12 around you. Right? The objective is to beat them.
Right.
So if you're in Compton, you want to beat Long Beach, Bellflower, Paramount, Linwood, Downey, LA Unified, and you want to look over into Beverly Hills and see if there's some metrics you can beat there, right? That's, again, as you're assessing yourself, assessing how you govern, assessing the system, the school board meeting is just a bill pay session. Just pay bills. The real work is done as you begin to analyze the system, the impact of the system, the budgetary process, the LCAP process, assessing and evaluating and juxtaposing the budget with the LCAP. How are we looking financially? Are we implementing our various programs? How do our students compare with college? The graduation rate, you graduate everybody. You graduate everybody. Saturday school, summer graduation. You want to look at the SPED graduation rate, SPED ELA, SPED math, college completion rate. You guys are very fortunate because you're one of the only systems, there's just two of you in the entire state. On the dashboard, the military metric, you guys hit that. Most do not. You guys are very fortunate to have a military institute in your system where your students can attend, and it's a dependent charter model. So you're able to capture that data as a part of yours, and you're able to claim that metric. Right? Very important work as far as the self-assessment. We can get into some of that later on, looking at various assessments that the board can undertake, and then we can unpack some of that data in some subsequent sessions. Mainly something like a TTI analysis. Remember we did the TTI?
Yeah.
Doing some of that, looking at that data, plus building ongoing board assessment to evaluate the efficacy of the governing authority. Policy review questions, and some of these are just derived from conversations and listening to board meetings and just overall. Policy review, key questions board should ask. New board member walking in, or kind of in the middle, 18 years in, been doing it a long time. What do? What problem is this policy trying to address or solve? So when you come up to looking at policies, that the staff is proffering these policies for the board to consider and adopt, who and what is centered as the problem? What is the tone of the language? Now in California, we're very reactionary. And our neighbors next door, we won't call names, our neighbors next door, a few other parts of the county, Riverside in particular, maybe some are reacting to Sacramento policies. Okay, I'll say it and I'll say it on the record. It's very difficult to beat Sacramento. It's very difficult to beat Sacramento. You will lose because we're perfunctory agents of the state. You're an extension of the state. What you can do and what you can work on is academic advancement and academic achievement, but to try to wage a political war against the governor and the legislature in a very blue state, you're not going to win. So you don't want to always draft public policy that is reactionary. You want to draft public policy that's very systemic and that will help you as far as your long-term goal and objective of moving and transforming the system. For example, TK pre-K, if you're in the K-12 system, TK pre-K, full-day kinder versus half-day kinder. Okay? 9-12 system, 0 period versus an 8 period. That's a public policy decision to pay for it, but it's a public policy decision nonetheless. What do you do with your art funding? What do you do with your ELOC funding? Those are public policy decisions that the board would want to question and weigh in. Right? Lunch, right? The type of food you serve. Public policy. Sports. All the sports that will be made available. Okay? Folks in Pairs Union, as a hypothetical, says we don't want to do football anymore. We want to focus on baseball, lacrosse. Those are public policy decisions because it requires appropriations, right? So these are the types of decisions that will come to curriculum assessment, curriculum procurement, right? Appropriating resources. So these are, you're asking various questions around public policy and finding ways in which to solve and address issues. Third bullet, is the language word choice centered around a particular culture, norm, value, or expectation? This is the questions you have when you're looking at various policy ideas that come to the board, or various policy ideas you want to bring as a board member. Right. Tone of the language, very important, and then of course, word choice centered around a particular, I'm sorry, that's actually a duplicate. This should have been off. Russian last night. Tone of the language as far as your policy is concerned. Right. We don't want to offend people. We want to find ways to which to work collaboratively with everybody. One of the most significant issues I've seen a system do that gets everybody upset, limiting tickets for graduation. Mm-hmm. People become angry.
Yeah.
They become angry. All right. They become very. Now, you explained it 1,000 times, but back in my day, everybody could come. Well, there's only limited seats. Yeah. Well, move to a bigger venue. Okay, there's still limited seats, right? You give somebody 10 tickets, they want 20 tickets. Those are things that parents really are upset. Or mascots. School boards and staff want to change the mascot. Okay, huge problem. Some systems have allowed that decision to be made at the school site by the students. Step back. Right. Naming of schools. Whole process around naming of schools, as opposed to you just naming schools as you. There's a process. In order to ensure that we don't create a problem of one does not exist and there's community buy-in. Right. Any thoughts or questions on policy?
Just a question. You mentioned naming mascots and such. What about changing school district names?
Board decision.
Controversial?
Elephant in the room, your district is older than your newest communities around here, because these names change, right? Because you're so different in that you don't have that unified title, where you're unifying all these elementary and high school systems into one, right? Could it be controversial? The solution would be an advisory vote to the community. There's an election in June. There's one in November. Figure out the cost. If it's cheaper in June, cheaper in November, put it on the ballot. Let the voters decide. Right?
Now, at that point, you're saying let them decide whether you want to change, or at that point you have a new name?
Two questions. Do you want to change? Yes. Next question. Would you like this name?
Got it.
Ali Union High School District. Right? Because you would have had some discussions. You have all these schools like councils, you have all these folks you're engaged by way of the LCAP process, simple community survey. Community survey can get you back the response. How would you feel if we changed the name to, the only way you can go is Paris Menifee. Mm-hmm. If you chose to go that route, ask the folks, what do you think? Might not be a big deal, right? I mean, who would really care? Nobody knows what the Union High School District is anyway, and why do we use the title, right? I mean, who has the historical context around? So, not a big deal, and not a hill worth fighting or dying on. All right, policies are doing, and we're talking about policy because this came up, the president had some concerns and wanted us to kind of delve into it. Policies, they do 4 things all the time. Exacerbating something, perpetuating something, mitigating something, eliminating something. It can get you in trouble as a system. Now you look all across the country, think about this. We got off into a huge fight over bathrooms. I assume everybody in this room, you've boarded a plane, right? There's one bathroom. And I think some of you guys said you got wives and girlfriends, and there's one bathroom in the house. And everybody uses it. There's a policy. Seat up, seat down. Right? But we politicize. Now that issue did all 4 at one time. Now I'm not debating whether it's right or wrong. I'm just simply saying you weigh into D.C. Sacramento-oriented public policy debates at this local level, and then you get what we get next door here. Won't call the name. Okay. A challenge for you. Now, am I saying shy away from controversial policy? No, I'm saying there's enough to be done within your in your own will. We need not get off into Trump, Obama, Biden, Hunter, the laptop. None of that. There's enough work to be done in our own realm. And there's enough policies to be written and enough policies to be expounded upon that does not, or that do not do any of the four. And so we could throw out you're also fortunate to have an eighth grade campus. Okay? So let's hypothetically say you chose to, something that might tick off people here, if you were to envelop an eighth grade class at all your high schools, 8 to 12. Makes sense. Increase enrollment, vertically articulate students, right? Do what Paramount Unified did. You can isolate them over here, and then they can just simply migrate on in. Paramount had a ninth grade campus. A phenomenal model. They did an exceptional work back in the day under the superintendent named David Verdugo. Right? Exceptional, brilliant guy. You could do that. Now, you could mitigate declining enrollment, right? You might eliminate families being separated. So let's say, I got an 8th grader, 9th, 10th, right here. I got 3 kids. They're all the same. It's like one and the same. It's 3 little people, like 1, 2, 3, right? And then how old is your other son, your oldest?
18.
Okay, so he's gone. So let's say if he were 15.
I have a 15.
Okay. Oh, you do. Okay. So this fits you. So now you make a
5,
one stop.
if not counting 5.
You pull up one stop, let everybody out.
Wow.
She love it. One stop. Boom. As opposed to having to drive all over. And then she's probably, you're toggling between 2 school districts, right?
Right now, yes.
See? Boom. We've solved an issue for her. And guess what? She's like many in the community. We want our kids at one school at one time. One pickup, one drop off. But that's an example of public policy you can consider. You built the high schools for 1,500 to 2,000 students. 1,000 students, hey, boom, 8th grade, off we go, right? Who would that hurt? Innovative ideas in order to bring forth public policy decisions. So what do? And what have we done around the state with helping the school systems? And both of you guys are K-12, right? You K-12? No.
No.
But you worked in a comprehensive unified back in the day? Always high school?
Always middle school and high school.
Okay, but you K-12.
I've been 12 years.
Okay. So you'll get this, and you're a teacher in a K-12 system, right? And Garcia works in a K-12 system.
Yes.
So here's what we did. We say, okay, the charter schools, they're not going after 9-12 because Paris Union costs too much to operate. This is a very expensive system. This whole high school, the 25 of you in the state, it's an expensive proposition. But I can get great lift from K through 8. So the charter schools ran to what? K-8 models. Research out of it's either Baltimore or Columbia, one of them. K-8 models are phenomenal, which we used to have, and we went to this middle school model, right? What did we do? Here back to Paramount. They went back to K-8. Saw a significant growth in student achievement because you were able to maximize instructional minutes and time on task. Able to isolate situations and scenarios because if one child is failing, if one of your triplets, if there's an issue with one, you can, by average, it's an issue with all 3. One struggling in math, they all are probably going to struggle in math, right? Because they work together, I would assume, okay? And I'm making a generalization, but that's typical for most students, right? Well, systems begin reverting back to K-12 models. Now that it's competing with the charter schools and actually excelling far beyond, which now means, guess what, in California law? If the LEA, that's the charter authorizer, is outperforming the charter school, then why do they need the charter school? Right? Again, these are public policy decisions which are mitigating or eliminating. Some things perpetuate. When you get off into the politics, you're perpetuating and exacerbating, causing far more harm than good. Right? Now, I'm not advocating for you to be a vanilla system and don't advocate for them. I'm not saying that. There's enough in the lane. Stay focused as a board. Equity decision making lens. Questions to consider for any policy, program, practice, design, etc. Groups. Impact and barriers. This is out of some work out of the Portland Public School System. Equity decision making lens. Now, when we talk about equity, we're not talking about radical racialized policies and we're talking about, in the way I define equity, very simple definition: ethics. Doing the right thing for all students. So her triplets come in, little challenger reading. I have twins, a little challenger reading. Well, doggone it, isn't it the right thing to provide targeted interventions for these 5 pupils? Isn't that the right thing to do? We're going to let them just sit off to the side, because then what she's going to go do? She's going to walk down to public counsel or the ACLU, and then she's going to come on over and she's going to drop a lawsuit, and she's going to go find 40 other parents. Now we have a class action lawsuit. And guess what? There's 400 other parents. There's 4,000 parents. Now we have a huge crisis on our hands when all we had to do is provide the resources per the law. We're obligated to provide a fair and free, fair access to public education.
So, and I have a question, because I know sometimes where that question gets kind of muddied in the waters is, obviously you have EL populations, you have special populations that are obviously generating the funds in order for you to provide those services. But if they're outside of that scope, obviously if they're not doing an intervention program because she's got her kids and they want to read, and it's early, it's like what Chuck said, it's between K2. You know what I mean? And then they do have you in the water if they've been identified. How do you do it so that you make sure that you're hitting that? But there's also kids, just because they might be socioeconomically there and that they're not generating the extra funds, who could also use those services. Like, how are you being? Because you're right. I think in this situation, you look at equity and they're going to say, well, give it to the least. But it's like, you know what? The right thing to do is all the kids, it doesn't matter what their socioeconomic is, they should get the services that they deserve so that they can compete just like everybody else.
So Mr. President, in your scenario, and you're 100% correct, the response, it's very simple. You're hiring qualified and very technical people who can identify, whether it's through child find or any other mechanism, they can identify students who are struggling and provide those mitigations, and also provide higher level rigor for students who might not need that level of support, right? That's where we're relying on the superintendent and the executive cabinet and all of the other people within administration to do their part. Now, you want to hear the other side, the phone call, the email, the Facebook post, the blog, etc., saying it's not being done. But then we need to go back to the few slides back at accountability. Bold. Those words. We need to look and hold somebody accountable for that, right? We're talking about looking at groups and talking about providing policy and programs and practices that impact these marginalized groups and or groups that are not marginalized.
Right.
Think about this. You have school systems, Beverly Hills, San Marino, Palos Verdes, Arcadia, Los Altos up north, right? Santa Barbara,
Is Poway in that group?
Poway. We're talking about very affluent communities with huge populations of English language learners and LTELs, underperforming black children, black students, and then you have these high performers. And so that you're toggling between finding a equitable modality to ensure that these students, that's really the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Now here's what happens. What we normally do is we put all the shiny wins up, because I don't believe you ought to have any LTELs. I don't believe anybody should have any LTELs, because somebody did something wrong. You got a child in 8th grade and he's still an LTEL by 11. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. And that means that the system, people failed that pupil. And the school board failed to do your job and look at that data and ask the appropriate questions. Ask the appropriate questions to be able to get to an answer, to find a solution. It's not the fact that, I got you. You got tequila in that cup. I got you. Okay. No, we're not trying to get anybody. Because at the end of the day, you had 13 years with these little people. 13 years.
Yep.
So, go right ahead.
I think we all have really good ideas, but when we actually have the board, it's just all business, the meeting, and then how do you
get that in there?
How do we get our ideas off paper and
phenomenal question. So, I know this is okay. I'll give you a scenario, and you probably agree. You can nod and say you agree. Okay. You're talking to me. You met me at CSBA conference. I'm doing something great over in Compton. You want to do it now. You want to do it too. Okay. I got it. All right. Or you met me. I'm from Oakland. Whatever. San Francisco. Doesn't matter. San Diego. All right. Well, we have to give the staff an opportunity to take the idea, evaluate and assess it. Right? Do we have capacity? Okay. Case in point. We want every child in Paris Union to learn the violin. There's some art money. Everybody learn the violin. Okay? Dr. Egan's going to come back and going to say, yeah, Dr. Rao, we can do that. But hold on. And then I go to him. Right? I'm going boom, 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 because they're all a part of the wheel. Okay. Yes, we can do it. Yes, we can find the funding. Go find the teacher. Oh, well, Mr. Ali, violin teachers around, and here you're, but I want my twins to play the violin. Okay, so now I got to go recruit them. Okay, so now now watch this. We're a year in now. Well, Compton has them. Okay, Compton has closer proximity to, let's say, the Music Entertainment Center of Southern California. Or let's say there's closer proximity to Hollywood, or whatever the case. It's Culver City, where there's more entertainers, et cetera, right? And then when you're San Diego, but San Diego Unified and all those districts along the 5, they all have them already on lock. They've already hired them all, right? Well, they need some time. Now, what I would say is bring your ideas forward, let the staff assess and analyze, put it in LCAP. Fund it, measure it, and hold the overall system accountable. Sir?
Well, it's interesting you bring up that analogy because my anecdotal evidence of that is usually with the Asian community. They know the benefits of producing a violinist. You know what I mean? And they understand the time that it takes and for them to put in it. And then if you look at the research and the results of what that produces, it's off the charts.
So let me give you another one. You're going to love this. I got an award, received an award at the CSBA conference about 3 years ago in San Diego from the military. I had no idea that I was helping them with high school recruitment in California. I can't even remember what I did. They came with this big ego, and I was pretty general comes in. I'm thinking, this is cool, man. Okay, so we're talking, and I said, you know what, man? I want these children in Compton, they got to learn chess. Okay? Yep. Yeah. Military science, right? Okay? Analytics, math, the whole bit. hire a chess teacher.
Right.
But we're very fortunate to have a nonprofit that has these master chess players, and they provide this service to the school system. And guess what? It's a phenomenal idea. We talk about it. They assess it. They do all the due diligence. We can pay for it through ELOP. Boom. There you have it. Now, again, everybody has 1,000 ideas.
That's what. How do you?
Well,
as a board, how can we unite? I guess without breaking ground. Well,
sure, you'll bring it up in a meeting.
The idea. I feel like our meetings we don't have time.
Well, so I would probably say y'all, you guys are a little loquacious. The board talks a lot of talking. A lot of talking. And so, and no disrespect, but we can reduce the conversation to be able to get to the board comment section. But then, if Dr. Egan's, hey, I saw something that so and so Moreno Valley's doing so and so. Hey, can we research it? Sure, we can research it. Now, let's be careful, because we're getting ready to enter LCAP and testing season, so we got to be focused on that, right? Okay, so we can't have a lot of ideas all the time. We want to be very pragmatic and practical. I can't have an idea at every meeting, right? Because there's just some business that has to be conducted, and we want to give people an opportunity to get back with the proper research, right? Mr. Hall?
So, I've been working with a gentleman back in New York. It's Urban Aviation Group.
Yeah.
And they teach drone flying and have that somewhat pathway for aviation, which I think would be great for CMI to start off. But then I started talking to, because I was doing some research, talking to some people that he gave me names and I can ask questions to. But we were talking, and it was like, we have a film crew that comes from Heritage. They do our student of the month. They come out and they're all technical and everything. Well, they can get into this and start, using the drones to do our football or our graduation. What I'm thinking, but students can get a drones license at 16. So how, like what you were saying, and this is why I brought it here. So how do we implement that and get it going?
Give it to the superintendent. I would assume you guys meet with the superintendent. You share your ideas with the superintendent, right? And if in fact, again, back to the overall assessment, the review, the due diligence, looking to see where it's been done, actually looking at qualitative and quantitative measures, efficacy, scalability. They do all those activities to be able to form a perspective. And then, of course, if there's funding, I don't see the reason why it wouldn't happen.
It's got to start somewhere.
I got to start somewhere.
I'm sorry, I was looking at some of the agenda. So we're kind of moving in. So at this point, as long as we have the flexibility to kind of move, because I know we were supposed to go over board policies, but I probably want to table that. Yeah. Probably towards the end, and if we get to it, get to it. If we don't, because I think we're doing one of the things that we were about to discuss. So,
okay.
But so, all I'm asking is with flexibility, if everybody's okay with that, because this conversation went from board roles into something that we were supposed to discuss a little later, but we can prioritize with the way that time has gone and kind of move. I mean, personally, I think right now the board policies will probably be at the bottom because of its importance, and then there's a lot of writing and reading and all that stuff. So, anyways, if that's okay,
now we can move the board policy discussion to another day because that's going to be very long.
Yeah,
that's going to take a lot of time. Okay, a lot of time. So back to Mr. Hall. So I don't see no reason why the staff wouldn't. Again, we want to give them enough time.
Correct.
Right. Think about this. Let's just put this into perspective. Okay. You have LCAP, March 15th. Okay. Budget. All right. Budgetary process. You have testing. So there's a lot that's going to happen between January and, let's say, April.
Right.
Okay. Now, not to say that they can't walk eyes wide open chewing gum at all at the same time. But we do want to be fair. So if we have some ideas, give them now. Give them now before we get to Christmas, the Christmas recess. Right? And then if in fact we can I'm quite confident there's somewhere in the LCAP where this would go. I'm very confident. Mm-hmm. I'm very confident that there's some money around here for that. It's after school program, whatever the case may be. And if it's not, then it just won't be this year. To wait until you get into the budgetary season for 26, 27. Mr. President.
So now, is it something that we submit in writing, or can we like have an informal conversation? Let's just say like today.
This is not on the agenda.
It is.
No, this program is?
No, not this, but just the ideas from idea to implementation.
Sure, absolutely, yes. But remember something, folks. Look, don't make this too complicated. You talk with the superintendent all the time, or under board member discussion, and at the end of the meeting, hey, I'd love for the staff to research this, or, you simply ask for your item to be on the agenda for discussion. So simply, hey, I want to place the urban aviation group, I want to place, Coca-Cola or Panera Bread on the agenda for discussion. Have a discussion about it. It's on the agenda, complies with the Brown Act, is free-flowing, and there's no surprises because everybody knows what's going to go down, and they can get back with you, and you meet once a month to get back with you with a report in 2 weeks. Email the board a report in 2 weeks, which would then be added to the next agenda as an exhibit or an attachment. This report was provided to the board based upon this discussion. It's in the minutes. And you can say that as a part of your overall discussion. I want the report to be added to the minutes. Boom, boom, boom. You have all the answers you need.
So if right now November's packed, then we start moving towards a December discussion before we hit the wave of. Yeah, so kind of just plant the seeds, because obviously it takes time. It's nothing that's pressing or is going to be done this year, but at least the wheels are spinning so that we can move forward, and then they can accomplish everything they need to do, and then also look into that and kind of move on. And
I'm not saying don't bring any ideas. I'm kind of tongue in cheek on this. You see something at CSBA in November and December, you want to bring it, right? Or you go to another conference, fine. But my point is, having done this for so long, you just want to be conscious and cognizant that you may not get an immediate response.
Right.
So you say, okay, Mr. Garcia hypothetically says, I want to change our entire automobile fleet to all electric vehicles. Come on. That's not going to happen tomorrow.
I know.
That's not going to happen tomorrow. Okay. So let's be realistic, right? Okay. Maybe 1 or 2 vehicles because there's going to be a procurement coming up in 6 months, but not the whole fleet. Okay. You say you want to do something with aviation. Okay. It's in the LCAP. I'm very confident. They can figure it out. Opportunity presents itself. Boom, it's done. Or you say, hey, well, we think we want to put nurses at every school. Actually, 2 nurses. That may not happen. That may be a larger discussion because now you're talking about 2 heads at almost 150 to 200,000 each. Boom, 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 boom. It's a larger discussion. Right. So we kind of want to be kind of realistic in our Christmas wish list. Very important slide. This is probably one of the most important slides of the deck. Okay. And I'll make sure you guys get a copy of this.
Okay, great.
Who has the authority? Simple. The board has the power, the superintendent has control. Be very clear. The board has the power, the superintendent has control. That's why I go back to that word symbiosis. We're working together. Okay. Almost like you need the elbow for the arm to work right. No elbow, no arm, right? Superintendent's authority. Complete authority to decide within the limits of law, board policy, priority, and common sense. Common sense. Right? Common sense.
Hey, I thought that left the building a while ago.
And I can tell you, having been around, common sense is not so common. Right? The board policy is important because here's the thing. If you want something done and you want to really enshrine it, put it in policy. Put it in policy. Right? Because edicts and fiats come and go. Now, I'll give an example. I wanted to establish an office of black student achievement. Why? Because the black children in Compton were just performing horribly. Nobody pitched a tent. You know why? Because we never tied it to federal money. State money, A. And B, as we invested and spent money on black college tours for college exposure, everybody could go. Every student could go. Yeah. Latino kids going to historically black colleges, right? Now think about this. At your age of 40 plus, you got some things going on in your head. When you get to the schoolhouse, those kids are having a good time, and I mean a good time. They're having a ball. Things you don't even see. I wouldn't even want to say on the record. Right. Okay. So sometimes we get up, we're wrapped up in our own ideological thoughts and perspectives. These kids are having a great time. But that was done based upon policy, and it was put in the LCAP. Just like when we established the newcomer program, specifically for Salvadorans and Guatemalans. And we didn't say Salvadorans and Guatemalans, we said newcomers. But at that time, the bulk were Salvadorans and Guatemalans. So we invested an inordinate amount of resources in that. Now somebody would say, oh, it's race based. Hey, tell it to yourself. We want these children educated.
Yeah.
They're here.
Amen.
They're not going to sit in the class and just look, drooling. No, they're going to learn. Right. Bottom line. And we're going to do it by any means necessary. Take us to court, fine. We got to get them to learn. All right. Decision making is shared. SUP has complete authority to act, but must inform the board about decisions or actions. Now, that's day to day. So, case in point. I'm a school bus driver. Something goes down. I'll place an individual on admin leave. I can act and inform the board. Hey, phone, call everybody. It's not a vote. Information here. Just put Mickey Mouse on admin leave. Slap this kid in the back of the head. Bop, 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 bop. Boom. That's informing, right? We're not saying that the superintendent can go out and let a contract. He can go, now he has signature authority, but he can't go let a contract to, I want to rebuild CMI tomorrow, so it costs $400 million, boom. Signature. No, it's not how that works, right? SUP must obtain prior approval from the board before taking action. Board has the authority, makes a final decision, but may permit or require recommendations from the superintendent. Now, not to say that California law has changed. Governor Brown changed this. So the board could act as if you're a city council or board of supervisors, and you can run the district. But we know where that's going to go. You meet once a month. You got to be meeting once a week, twice a week. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on for your stipend, right? Nobody signed up for a full-time board position for whatever you get paid a month, right? Okay. And so when we look at what we're going after, achievement. So when you talk about shared decision making, set attendance, achievement, and set requirements for graduation. That's shared. Now you can say we want more requirements. Sure you can. Case in point. Some continuation schools have graduation requirements of 180 units. Traditional high school is it 220, something like
225.
225. So what were some children doing? I won't call the district out. Children were smart. Duck out of high school, ran the continuation, 180. Watch this. What does the diploma say? Chuck Hall High School. Graduation. Off he goes to college. When you get to college, Chuck Hall High School, never heard of it. I never even asked you about it. So the school board says, wait a minute. School board. These children are leaving. It's how do you have a 4.0 at the continuation school? This kid's been carrying a 4.0 his whole career. 180 units. He's hanging out now. Right? Shared decision making to up it all. When you up it all to 220, 225, what happened? Continuation numbers.
Right.
Continuation had 700 students in the high school. 700.
Yeah.
Wow. Dropped down to like 50. Right? Determine graduation ceremony dress code. This is a big one. Oh my God, this is a big one around America. Huge. Shared decision making. Okay? We don't want you to decorate the hat. You can decorate the hat. I don't really care, to be honest. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
I just want you to wear the robe. And don't wear the heels too high where you're going to fall over.
Yeah,
okay.
That's fine.
Bottom line. But I'm not going to get off into decorating sashes. People have. I don't want to fight families. I don't want to fight parents. I want to, and to love me, I want to love them. Establish new positions. Okay? And I put this one because this is very controversial. Diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. Okay? I'm not advocating. I don't have one. I'm not advocating. I'm just saying. Soups have done this because of political wins, and boards have said, no, we don't want that. Because we don't know what that means.
Right. Well, we don't have one anymore.
Right. We don't know what that means, and they don't know what it means. Because we don't see the fruits of their labor, right? Again, shared decision making. Seek parent and community input to determine if a school will adopt dual language model. Somewhat controversial, but it also determines on I'm one in particular, push for that. But it requires a tremendous fiscal investment and teachers who can actually teach dual immersion, dual language immersion, Mandarin or Spanish, etc. And then a new course in health education at the high school level. Super controversial, okay? All right? Now, we've been doing health education for eons, but now all of a sudden it's a big deal. Okay? Mm-hmm. But again, we want to be able to substantiate and have research and analytics behind decisions that we make so that the community is properly informed as to what's going on. Right? We'll come back to this because some of these are going to... Okay, we'll jump into this. And this was a question asked by a member of the board. All of the board. So we're grouping the responsibilities into 5 categories. Okay. Very few words, but the impact is extremely potent and powerful. Adopt goals and priorities and monitor success. Now, this is requiring you to be an actively involved board member who actually does something. It's a 4-letter word. It's really one of the worst 4-letter words in the English language. Read. Read.
Right? And there's a lot of it.
Read. Okay? The good deputy back there pulls you over. He's already ready. How you doing? I'm not saying a word. Give my ticket to me. Right to remain, so I'm not saying a word. Here you go. Oh, I'm late for, I'm late for church. He's late for church on a Sunday. He's writing back in the ticket, right? Hey, he's reading the law. He knows you're going to start running your mouth, right? Read and understand, monitor success, meaning you're keeping the data. Dr. Ross gives you data. You're going to file it away. You're going to go back and reference it. He's making an assumption, and he's assuming positive intent, that you're reading what he provides. Okay? Adopt policies review for effectiveness. Well, you passed the LCAP. It's not his responsibility to remind you to review. You ought to review, and you ought to juxtapose with each other. We said we're going to do this. Did we do it? No, we didn't do it. Why did we not do it? It's a fair question. It's not, I got you. It's a fair question. Why did we not do it? Because the county's going to ask, why didn't you do it? And you said you were going to do it. So why would you abdicate your authority to the County Office of Education? Right? Hire and evaluate the superintendent. Okay? We've already hired a soup. The evaluative process. It's not I got you moment. Right? Let's sit down. Okay, you only can evaluate the superintendent. Let me back up for a second. If you've effectively done the first 2. If you're not done the first 2, it's going to be very difficult for you. Because you don't really know what's going on. You're just pretty much I put board members into 2 buckets. You either did, having a flashback. Funny board meetings, man. You're either theatrical or you're a deliberative body. And it's interesting how there's some research out of Oregon, city manager did research on the shape of the dais. You're theatrical and performative. You're actually entertaining because you can't really see your colleagues. So you're talking to the community, so you think nobody's really listening to you. So you're just talking, and words are flying all over the room, right? You're showboating, as opposed to legislating as a local legislator responsible for an LEA. So if you're not effectively adapting goals, and which we can get into at a subsequent meeting, right? Priorities, monitoring success, then when it gets to the evaluative process of the superintendent, you're only going to evaluate him based upon the 30-day feelings you have leading up to the evaluative process. I'm going to evaluate my good HR brother here December 1st. Well, what did he do November 1? But now you have no idea how many folks have been hired, suspended, terminated, how many tests have been given. You have none of that data. Because you didn't ask for it. Which he can easily provide because they collect it. Because somebody's going to ask one day. Right? So as a board, now I'm not telling you to start asking for 1,000 documents. I'm simply saying you get 1,000 documents every meeting. Maintain online, make the appropriate notes, reference, be very informative as it relates to what's going on within the system. Mr. Hall.
I know Moreno Valley has a very detailed weekly report that goes over stuff like that. So it's something like that stuff could be put in there, and just more data information.
So there's multiple ways a soup can communicate with a board. Text, it's discoverable. It's all discoverable. Text, meaning, for me, I don't really want, I've been doing this too long too, so it's different. It's very different. I don't really want a report a week. Send me a text of all the bad things only.
Right.
Okay. But no, how do we go? Send me a text for some bad things. Call me if it's really bad. Okay.
Right.
And then call me for a quote when it's really good. All right?
Right.
It's really good, call me for a quote. Right? Put a quote in there, right? Okay. But I don't want this voluminous, because we've been there before. One time, man, we had a board member ask a question. We don't get enough data. Sue wrote in, I'm serious. Whole war room. 7 tables. Okay, delivered to their homes.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Hey, you said you didn't get, it's everything. Boom, here you go. LCAP is 300 pages.
Right.
Here you go. Budget. Boom, here you go. Right? It depends, and you as a board ought to determine in a public meeting what information, take the more valid example, what information you like to see, and what do you want to know? There's no harm in that.
Right.
No harm in you getting information.
Still and cheat from other people.
Right.
Use what's working for them.
Exactly. I don't see anything wrong with that. Not at all. Okay. Adopt a budget, set tax rate. This is in here because in some places the board set the tax rate, and in California, you can't tax. You can tax based upon either GO bond, partial tax, etc. But the board can, if you wanted to do something like that. I'm not advocating for it, just simply telling you the lay of the land with respect to taxation. And then communicate with the community. Everybody's communicating with the community because you 5 are elected. If they ask you what's going on, well, you ought to be able to cite off at least 5 exceptional things that are happening in the system. At least 5. Right. And then run those talking points to ground. Right? Okay. Now, most people in the community, they're going to want to know the graduation rate. Great. You should have that readily available. They're going to want to know, hey, chronic absenteeism. Some communities are going to want to know if you overly suspending black and brown boys. It's a question that people generally want to know. Right? And then you provide any extracurricular activities post the school day. Right? These are things you ought to know.
So, and I'm curious because you mentioned that statistic about black and brown boys. Now, there's also the dress code because I would say that's predominantly females. Or is that not usually an issue? I know that has, in years, it's basically reduced and wiped out dress code.
Yes.
Because it was basically you had, 90% were females. Now they're losing instructional time as opposed to the males, and so then it looks discriminatory and borderline or somewhat oppressive in some eyes.
Yes. And we reference black and brown boys in particular because of the data and the research, right? And by and large, young women are outperforming boys. There's actually phenomenal research. I got to get this guy's get his name. It's a whole book I was reading in the New York Times about a few weeks ago. I got to order the book. It's a crisis. It's an absolute crisis in our country. So the way the school systems have marginalized young boys. So I'll get that information to you guys. You guys can check that out.
Well, but you know what? And I want to make one more comment. I think one of the things that you said earlier is probably the biggest factor, reading. Yeah. Because everything has gone technical.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, now in middle school, when we do intervention, back in the day, the majority of the girls read. And some of the boys read. They might be reading magazines. They were reading novels. Now nobody reads. Everybody's playing video games on their little iPads and digital products. Now, obviously, this is middle school, but I mean, it's a huge problem. And the fact is that if you can read, you can almost accomplish anything. You don't necessarily need quote unquote a degree, but if you can read, you have access to every bit of information that's out there.
Absolutely, I would wholeheartedly concur. Role of superintendent. Make sure there's a distinct difference here. Act as CEO of the district. Move the district forward on the board's goals and priorities. I go back to the board's goals and priorities because if you're not setting goals and priorities, then how do you hold the superintendent accountable? Right? Okay? Now, again, you're not abdicating or losing power. There's a methodology to it. And so I'll use our exceptional deputy here. Who is he? He's the tip of the government spear. He arrests you on laws and policies passed by the legislature and arbitrated in court. I'm just doing my job, is what they say. Got to arrest you, boom, boom, boom. You have narcotics on you, drunk driving. You violate the law. He didn't pull you over because he really wants to. If you want to speed, speed. He don't care. It's your business. But the law says 65. Got to pull you over. Right? It's a tip of this government spear. Ensure that the board's policies are implemented fairly and appropriately. I go back to the policies. You guys have just a plethora of policies. And some of those policies are aligned to state law and case precedent. There's a lot of case law out there. Be accountable for the progress, moving the system forward. And then while the board's focus is, here we go, oversight of management, policy making, planning, and evaluation, the superintendent focus on implementation and managing the day-to-day operations. Not saying you cannot have a say-so or input, but do you realize the amount of power inherent in the oversight? So one aspect about Trump, whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. The point is that what they've done this time around, they went and scrubbed literally every ounce of the Constitution and every case they could find, every case to substantiate the play. First time, did things, Congress slapped them down and so did the courts. Now you have a Supreme Court that are strict constitutionalists. And Clarence Thomas is driving the court. A strict, stone-cold libertarian. Right? Everything coming down now does what? It's oversight proof, as it were. Because by the time he gets to court, well, you're already a year in. Strategy. Policy making, planning, and evaluation. What is policy making? Policy making, continuous evaluation of your policies to make sure that they're being implemented fairly and that you're keeping the policies up to date. That's the board's responsibility. That's the board's responsibility. Planning. Long-term fiscal planning, long-term staffing planning. Case in point, you have a single subject credential or multiple.
Multiple.
Okay?
Well, with an authorization.
Okay, all right? So let's say I'm on the board and I decide, you know what, I don't really want us to hire any more multiple subject area people. I really want people who are specialists. We can do that. Well, guess what? You have some single subject here within this 812 system, right? These are decisions that the superintendent and board will discuss, the pros and cons, the rationale as to why. Because in California, most of your superintendents really are K-8 people. High school is a nebulous place for many. It's very complicated.
It is.
Very complicated. So there's always that duality, that struggle between managing the K-12, which is a far different level of compliance and accountability, K-8 versus the comprehensive K-12. Now you actually have grown people. I mean, these people are like literally like, they're smart.
Yeah.
Voice and agency. Okay? And they can write, and they can use social media. Here you're struggling with the iPhone. These kids have popped out 40 tweets on you, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
I don't like Miss Egan. I don't like her laptop. I think it should be an Apple. Or there's Apple. It should be an IBM or whatever. You know. And had a whole dissertation on it, right? She's, wait a minute. Oh. All right. Okay, so what I think we do, if I know you had a hard stop, we could stop, pick back up on a couple Saturdays out, and then we can forward it to the role of the president. I'll test that now. We can fold it into the rest of the stuff.
And obviously, we've got December coming up.
Yeah, no, right.
You know, and
we'll
that was, I think, the important part of just kind of making sure that, you know, whoever that person is,
yes,
that everybody knows, because everybody at some point is going to be that person in that role.
Yes.
And so it's just an education for them.
This would be a good place to stop because the next element of the presentation moves off into a different aspect of governance. Role of the president. Now, there's always a lot of confusion with this position. Okay. Most school boards are 5 or 7 in California, and of course, you don't get to 9 till you leave. Oh. Chicago's thing is going to maybe 25 or something like that.
Oh.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Seriously, it's like some places are 13. Mostly, Pennsylvania is mostly 9. So let's just kind of tiptoe through here. Preside over the meetings and conduct meetings in accordance with the law. That's easy. That's fair. Okay. Works in concert with the superintendent. Approve items we place on the agenda. Now, this is let me put a caveat. Reference your own board policy, because some board policies are very different. Some board policies allow you to work in concert with the superintendent. Some allow the board president to actually place items and veto. Okay? Now, we encourage and maintain orderly conduct of the meetings, allow for full and complete exploration of each item for business, to what you were saying earlier. Lead board self-evaluation and superintendent evaluation. The board president is generally the lead agency negotiator when it comes down to the superintendent, hiring, etc., and interaction around evaluation and so forth. That person is the person who's talking with the superintendent during that process. Okay. Here is the big caveat. This is where people get into trouble. Right. The board president only has power given to him, her, they, by the board through policy or by board action. What does that mean? Okay. If you're rotating the presidency and you're in the minority, then you just preside over the meetings. You get that?
Yep.
If you are in the minority on a rotation, you're just presiding over the meetings. If you're the board president and you're in full majority, hear what I'm saying? Full majority or supermajority, the relationship is different.
What does that mean? I'm not understanding that.
Well, if you're on a board, and it's 5 of you guys, and you guys have a board policy that rotates the presidency, then essentially you're just going to sit there in that seat and preside over the meetings. You're not going to have any cachet to do anything other than that. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if you want to do something, well, we might not want to do that, so it's not going to happen. Oh. Okay. You want 2 laptops? No, I think you ought to have 1. We're going to take this one away now. Nope, no more food for you. Take your sandwich and throw it in the trash. You can't eat. Because now, you got the power. This is real. If you're on a board, or you actually have a majority, it's people know that. It's clear.
How do you know if you're a minority or majority?
Oh, you know, because I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'll give an example. Just happened next door. One of our neighbors. You want to go to CSPA? Nope. Nope, you're not going. Hold it down. You 2 can go. You 3. Nope, can't go. Or,
but who gives them that? How do they establish that power?
Oh, it's established because it's 5 people, and we don't like you. Us 4 like each other.
It's the if you have the 3-2
Yeah.
or 1
Yeah.
or 5-0.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. So us 4 don't like you now, and you don't go nowhere. You just sit here and you just call it a roll.
So can I add to that? So you being there 13 years says volumes without saying volumes, right? And I don't think our policy has that rotation. That's just kind of been the tradition here. And I think Jamie brought up something extremely important recently. She thought, well, we need to look into possibly making it at least a 2-year-old because the 1 year is you're drinking out of a fire hose. And so if you're doing, let's just say that the tradition here has been set that you do 1 year in 4, right, as a rotation. What he basically says, you're probably never going to accomplish anything that you want to accomplish because it's by the time you're learning and figuring things out, it's your time's up. I mean, and so when you brought that up, that was, first of all, no one had ever brought that up. And so it was a very important comment because you were exactly right. You know what I mean? And everybody's, and I can only speak for me. I don't know about those 2 gentlemen because they might have been presidents more than one time. But for me, it was drinking out of a fire hose and learning a lot of different things. And I leaned a lot on Mackay because of his experience as a school board member and doing that. And it's kind of interesting when you see that he's been doing it for 13 years because when you look locally, that's not usually the case. But, a lot of the credit, in my opinion, for what he's done in Compton is because he has that position. But he also has like-minded people who have basically said, hey, you're doing a fine job with what you're doing and you're listening to us collectively and we're accomplishing all the things that we want to accomplish. Yeah. So, and I understand exactly what was going on in that neighboring school district. And it's when you see that kind of a decision made, you're like, whoa, that's, and I saw it.
So the board president, essentially, you want to set a tone because you tell the pace of the pack by the leader. You want to set a tone in the meetings. And I go back to this, and the staff laughed, the executive team laughed. And it's a little funny. But I gauge a meeting by how quick the meeting ends. If the board meeting is going on and on and on, there's 2 things I see. You did not do that bad word, that 4-letter word. You didn't read, A. And B, if you read, you didn't even structure your questions to where the questions could be answered. Because at the end of the day, we're not talking about AI. These are human beings. So if you're rapid firing questions, then what are they going to do? Lock down. Because I'm under no compulsion to answer. The answer is going to be, I don't have the answer. I'll get back with you. That's a nice way of saying it ain't happening right now. It'll happen tomorrow, but not today. Right? Which is why it's a good practice as a board that collaborates. Right? Hey, you have questions on the agenda? You get the agenda. Your meeting is on Wednesdays, right? You get the agenda normally, what, Thursday? Friday?
Mainly Friday.
Okay, Friday. That's ample time. Send your questions in an email to the soup. Right? Watch this. He responds Monday, Tuesday. You take those answers, submit them to the record. So the citizens can see. I asked 10 questions. He responded. They're placed in the public record as a part of the exhibit. Boom. We're good. He's able to give a detailed response, and then everybody can see it. It's not a secret. It's all good. Everybody goes. Now, we're talking about governing at a very high level because you want your community to see that you're not governing based upon fiat or chaos. You're not these edicts and you're raging and carrying on. Now, we're going to get mad at each other. There'll be tempers will flip. Trust me. Come on. I've had my fair share of hot-head moments, okay? Such is life. But watch this. I'm very, very, very passionate and very respectful, even with foul language. I'm going to cuss at you, I'm going to cuss with you, okay? And so we still can walk out and then move it forward. Hey, Dr. Egan, I'm not going to cuss it. I'm a hard time with that comment you made that, you feel that, you feel that all children are going to go to college. Well, I don't feel that way. She comes back and says, well, here's empirical evidence that that California children are better prepared for college today. What are you going to say? Which they are. They're better prepared for college today than they were yesterday. I get C, A through G, et cetera, right? They're better prepared. Mr. Garcia would have most certainly had a different high school experience today than they did back then. All of the supports, all of the targeted interventions, all of the tutorial programs. Think about this. Kumar and all that stuff, that was for the affluent or those with little money. Today, any child can get a tutor. We all are paying for tutoring. This is what we do. You know this, right? So again, we don't want to politicize the body, but you are a political body, and this is a political organization, as defined by the law. The law says that, not my opinion. We want to make sure that if you're in the presidential role, it ain't that difficult. You're moving the meeting along. But you want to be very mindful because, you are the county of Riverside that recognizes and observes you as the president. You receive all the official correspondence as president, which means people are going to know your name. I go to Facebook and I see Mr. Hill. He's in a fist fight in the CVS parking lot. He's president. True story, by the way, in a district in Illinois.
Did he win or
As long as it wasn't Walgreens.
Dude, president, this shit taught him. Dude, it's like this. President was working it, right? Again, we're all fallible. None of us are perfect. But again, I like imperfect and irregular people, by the way. I love the imperfect. The reality is you're in a leadership role and you want to conduct yourself as such and you want the meetings to be very seamless. That way there's a high level of confidence. I'll say this in closing. When I took the bond in 2015 to the community, I ran the campaign, both. Took the bond in 14, 15? Barely passed. Barely passed. I'm talking about like 10 votes or something. It was like barely passed. Took the bond in 22, highest vote getting bond in the state of California for that year. Wow. Why? Because you changed the perception that people have. When you say Compton, there's 1,000 adjectives that run through your mind. And none of them are positive. Right?
Until now.
Until now. Because you have experience of what you dealt with the way back when. Because y'all all fled LA to come here. You fled, you're interlopers. You're not even welcome here.
I don't like that comment.
Right?
So take it back.
You got Alhambra, La Puente, West LA, East Low. And you're from LA. He's from LA. Right? So it's like, dude, we got one cat from the desert, another homie from Mexico. Where you from? This area? Okay, well, she gets a pass. Right. But think about this. You have a whole community of folks just around this room. You're not from here. So you fled, right? You want people to have a level of confidence in the system. Parents come back. Everybody had declining enrollment. We're up like an eighth of a point. We didn't focus on the politics. We focused on instruction.
And I want to throw something out that I saw over the course of when I was at LA Harbor College.
Yep.
So when we played Compton Community, it was dilapidated. It was a joke. We didn't even want to go there. They had a lot of talent. They just threw out bats and balls, and it was embarrassing for us to play. But what you've done with that place is amazing because, like for me to see it now as a new high school and what it is, and then got the explanation of the name. I mean, it's phenomenal because when we went there, like I said, I mean, and we were nationally ranked in the state. It was almost like we were better off having a practice game against our freshmen when we played them, and that was because the community at that time, it was like you said, it was right after the whole easy, but it was Compton was not looked at and viewed upon, especially as an academic institution or a place where academics were a high priority. And that has switched, and so you've done a great job in doing that because I saw it and it was bad.
Yeah, no, hey, I went to Linwood that's how I ended up in Linwood Unified, Paramount, Linwood, graduated, right? Because of now, my man, I'm not for sure. You know, a guy by the name of Cecil Rambo. He's assistant sheriff, LA County, retired. He's now the chief of police of LA Airport.
Oh yeah.
So I met him in 2020. He's like my dad. He was hired as the captain of the sheriff's department when the sheriffs assumed the Compton Police Department. This one man cleaned up Compton in 1 year.
Wow.
You met him. Y'all met him. 1 year.
Used to be the city manager.
He was the captain of the sheriff's department. The city council tried to make him city manager and captain at the same time. It was hilarious, man. He retired and he came back and went to Carson, the city manager, came back to Compton, the city manager. But point being is that I go back to what I initially said at the top of the entire session. If we all are rowing in the same direction, not to say, hey, Campos is a little tired, I'll pick up his slack. He's sleeping, hit him in the head with the oar, wake him up, right? But we all have to run in the same direction. Again, have your differences. But if the fulcrum of our existence, if that's students in Paris Union, then if it's good for them, then you set aside your difference because while I love your 5 children, I love mine more. I love my child more than you're the board member. I don't care about your kids. I care about my kids. I voted for you, not for yours, but for mine. Right? We want to move the system forward for ours. So why don't we'll get a date, Mr. President. Let's pick it back up so we really can delve into the policy discussion, which will take a lot more time. We can pick a date later.
Would it be wise to do it on the early in the morning from the State of the Union? Well, it depends what time the State of the District is.
That's on a Friday.
It's on Friday.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but at that point, we're going to have a reorganization, so that might not be my call. So
okay. So well, even if you set the date now, we can.
Yeah, we can
okay.
set it.
So
that's why I'm asking.
What about the next
what
day?
time is the State of the District?
In the afternoon, like at 3:34.
he said, I think the 12th, December 12th, is the State of the Union, and
Yeah,
then
that's why I'm asking.
so it
what
would be
time
the
on
13th.
No,
Fine.
I'm asking that day. So we're taking one day because I have to work that day.
Yeah.
It would be wise to take the whole day, right? The morning we do State of the, this, and then go to the State. You guys do what you got to do, obviously. But
Okay.
if we're doing,
We're looking at Friday, December 12th at 5 p.m.
5 people. And then you want
for
to
the
do
State of the Union.
Okay, then you want to do
in the AM.
In the AM.
Does that make sense?
No, fine with me. I'm cool.
Yeah, I'm taking that day off, so that would.
Okay,
okay.
the same day.
Okay, even better.
You know already taking the day off. How you know so?
She took care of it right there.
Yeah,
She did it on her phone this morning.
Perfect.
Is that a good day?
Oh yeah. No, I was going to say I was only suggesting that the Saturday only because I wasn't considering taking it because I can make a 5 o'clock meeting, but I'm okay taking that day off and then not having to use Saturday. That's more efficient. I just was thinking of the work schedule of just, hey, I
And
can
you have a
accomplish
free
my
weekend
work.
to do what you do.
Yeah, regardless. That's
So Friday the 12th would work.
That's got to speak with them now.
Yeah.
Okay. So Friday the 12th.
We did it in the morning, and everyone had a chance to go get it.
Yeah.
Because we're live.
What time? Same time? Okay.
Are you good with the 12?
9
Same
a.m.?
time.
Are you good with the 12?
Great.
What?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
a.m.
to 12.
on the 12th.
9 to 12.
How long do we need? How long do you
time
think
is
we
your-
need?
I'll probably say, if we're gonna, are you gonna bring some policies in too?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so those board policies, and then also we didn't get to the asset
Right.
management piece.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably say,
Maybe
let's
do
block
that.
off 4.
Okay.
We do breakfast and then lunch.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do breakfast.
Do breakfast and lunch.
9 to 1. 9
Yeah.
to 1.
That's fine.
We're there
Yeah.
already.
Because we can do working lunch because the food will
Right,
be
right,
delivered
right,
here.
right.
Yeah.
Working lunch.
Hey, you're thinking too hard, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's how we usually do it.
That's what we
This is
do
the normal
every
day
meeting.
When I can't afford to let them
Is
like
this
go
this
off,
the
I'm like,
optimal
oh, the
location
workman's
here?
here.
Is this the best
Yeah.
location?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
More
okay.
space?
Yeah,
more
actually,
space.
yeah.
We
Oh,
can do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, especially because we're not going to have. Otherwise, we have kids
board-
that day.
Where's
the
the?
site?
Oh, we haven't determined the state. Or no, you did.
Yes, we're looking at Paloma. So
Does that
this'll-
give you guys enough time to transition from here to be able to
Oh,
do
it
it?
does.
Yeah,
What
because
Yeah.
we have a committee that's going to be doing all the.
They'll
Yes,
just call you
yes.
otherwise if they
Yes.
need.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
How do
this
you
is
feel
nice.
about meeting, changing the venue to the boardroom?
I don't have a problem with it. Is there going to be parking for us?
Well, but you invited a lot of people in Menifee, so.
Oh, we just need to for the meeting with Mackay.
Oh, oh,
It
okay.
works
okay.
better for Anna at the boardroom.
Just technology-wise, like it's easier, but.
Yeah, no,
Let's do
that's
it at the
open.
board.
Let's
You
do
can
it.
always
Yeah, whatever's
bring
at the board.
The
Yeah.
chairs down, the tables down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll set up the tables. We have
Right.
tables that we move in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. We'll
Yeah.
set it up like this.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. No, it's all good. All good.
Okay. And you're going to do the whole.
So workshop
Yeah.
or studies, it doesn't
Or deal.
matter.
So
Sounds
let me
good.
ask you, would you want to continue this meeting to that day?
Yeah.
You just continue it.
Can you
Not have
send
to
us an invite?
Oh, no, because you got to repost.
Yeah.
Changing the location. So we'll adjourn this one and then repost.
We need to
All right,
repost.
okay.
Okay, cool.
Because we got to repost over there for the 12th.
Right.
All right, folks, we're good?
So, yeah.
Can we hit that 5 real quick? Just a quick explanation. At number 5, trustee compensation.
Let's deal with that. Let's deal with that. Yes. Let's deal with that on the 12th because we need to look at that policy.
Yeah, okay, so, so
There
also,
needs to be a change.
But
to the
that's
policy.
in like a month and a half, though.
but also, Tony,
Don't
you
we
are
want
more
it on the
than,
agenda
call
next
him. You can, I mean, we can have that discussion as a
We need to
group, but
have
if
that.
you want the details,
I know there was a list of things that we had to do to get to that.
Can you
Yes.
condense it within 5
Yeah,
minutes so we can just touch on
we need
it?
to look at your policy because if the policy references you're paid according to state law, you do nothing.
Can you look into that?
Right. Right. He can easily.
I'll coordinate.
He's a whiz. He can do it. And so if it says that, then you do nothing because your compensation is set by the state. If it says that, then it's something to do.
And then if not, can we have it placed on next month's agenda so it kicks in when it kicks in?
Yep.
Yep. But well, I'll wait for the.
No, but
you guys will get policy.
Yeah.
There was a
I can
question
wait.
about
Yeah.
that.
Can you submit the policy when you get a chance, sir?
So we heard it kicks in year 26, but at the new election, or does it kick in for everybody on the year January 26?
I need to go back and look at the full.
The language?
Yeah, because there may be some other guiding language from the CDE.
Well, once you find out, can you get to them
No
as soon
problem.
as possible and they can get to us?
I will make sure.
I appreciate that.
I'll work with you on that.
Yeah, 95. Okay.
All right, folks.
so
we're good?
at this point, if we'd like to adjourn the meeting of the Paris Union High
I'll make
School
a motion.
District.
So move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussions, question? Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned
Let's
at,
call for a vote.
oh,
I know you got things to do. I do. too.
okay, so,
We have to call for a
so
vote, or maybe a vote.
Nope.
to adjourn?
Yes.
So trustee Anaya says yes. Trustee Stafford?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Hall?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Garcia?
Everybody's
So
vote.
good.
Oh,
We have
here we go.
vote.
We got the vote.
Okay. but-
And well, roll call, whatever. So, and me, yes.
It's
So
okay.
my assumption is we
I'd
have
like
a full vote,
to
504.
take 10 more minutes. No, I'm just kidding. Let's just Yeah, we just voted.
Either verbally
Yeah.
or there. I did
No.
both.
My
Digital.
computer.
Yeah, I did digital. Well, we did both. I'm pretty sure the result might be the same, but